Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto's body turns into full Uzumaki to adapt his powers from the future. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The 7th Hokage Naruto Uzumaki walked through the garden of his lovely house. He passed the beautiful flowers planted by him, his wife and daughter. He smiled as he caught the sight of a few sunflowers that reminded him of his two himes. His white cap with flames on it, and his title Nanadame Hokage stood proudly on his shoulders. He turned the knob of the door slowly and with a great big smile shouted, "I'm home." After a few seconds of his voice echoed throughout the house, he heard two sets of footsteps coming from the house, one from the kitchen and the last one from upstairs. Knowing who would end up greeting him first, he held out his arms and crouched down, and from the corner his lovely daughter ran to him squealing, "Two-chan, you're home." His little Hima ran right into his waiting arms, and Naruto lifted his little girl into the air as she squealed and gave a big hug and kiss on the cheek, which she happily returned. "Hello Himaheim, did you have a good day?" he asked as he tickled his little girl, and she laughed out her response. "T-touchin' stop tickles." Daddy's little girl laughed as she playfully slapped his hands away. "Two-san, you're home early." His eldest son Boruto walked down the stairs. He missed the times when he used to run into his arms like Himawari did and couldn't help but hate himself for not being there for him as much as he wanted to. Naruto gave his son a great big smile as he proclaimed, "Yep, your old man got some time off to spend with you too," he told the children as he put Himawari down and patted her on the head, and then did the same to Boruto, much to his fake dismay. But everyone could see the smile he made after his dad finished ruffling his hair. "Oh really, knowing our luck war is going to break out and be forced to call you back to work." Boruto smiled at his father, though a part of him expected and accepted his father would be forced to go back to work like always. "No worries, I made Shika and Kakashi-sensei promise to handle all matters of war until after my vacation is finished." Naruto smiled at his two kids as they released a laugh at his joke, though Naruto was completely serious, having threatened to burn every Ika book in existences and make sure his advisor won't get a good night's sleep for the next 10 years, if his family time was interrupted this time. "That's not good, Naruto-kun, that could very well happen." Naruto had a great big smile as he looked at the love of his life, Hinata Uzumaki, his wife. "Don't worry, I'm sure the guys can keep the village intact by the time I come back," he reassured his wife, and then looked at two pairs of eyes the same blue as his own. "I promise nothing, short of some super powerful being coming to end the world, will keep me from you two and I never go back on my world, because that's your ninja way." Hinata, Boruto and Himawari all finished, and Naruto did his nervous tick and rubbed the back of his head, and he grinned at his family. "But Two-chan/Two-san, that happened just last month." Both Himawari and Boruto spoke at the same time. "Hey, no worries, everyone knows that the end of the world doesn't come about till a year after someone's last attempt." Naruto gave the nice guy poses before his son broke up. "But knowing your luck, this would the 1/1000000 chance that it happened and the world did end tonight," Boruto sarcastically told his father as he walked to his mother. Naruto hugged his wife and kissed her, getting an awe from his daughter and yuck from his son, who was hiding a blush. "Hello Hinaheim," Naruto whispered huskily as he hugged and kissed his wife, sending a shiver down her spine. "Welcome home, Naruto," Hinata told her husband as she gave him a kiss, watching as his blue orb shined with pure happiness at the greeting. This was what he's always wanted, someone to come home to, a loving wife and children to greet him, the family of his own he's always wanted. Naruto smelled an all too familiar heavenly aroma in the air, and he started to drool as he asked in a hopeful voice, "What's cooking?" "Beautiful," he asked his wife, and was delighted to see the familiar tinge of red on her adorable cheeks. "Hinataheim will always be Hinataheim, no matter how much time passes, she never changes," he chuckled in thought as he nuzzled her neck and breathed in her wonderful scent, embarrassing her more. "And Naruto, I was just cooking some," Hinata stuttered as she glowed a bright red, still not used to her Naruto's wonderful affection after all these years. "Ramen!" Boruto and Himawari shouted at the same time. Even though they didn't enjoy the food as much as Naruto, they still loved it almost as much as their father. "Hinaheim, did I ever tell you how lucky I am to have such a wonderful wife?" he purred into her ear, enjoying the reaction and couldn't wait for what would happen tonight. "It's been way too long since I last had her." "Why yes, all the time," she stuttered, and Naruto put on a thoughtful expression before he said, "Not nearly enough," as he took his Haim's hand and led her back into the kitchen. "I swear, you probably knew she was cooking ramen and rushed over here." Boruto snickered as his father sputtered a reaction. "Nonsense, I wouldn't do something like that," Naruto said, avoiding eye contact, and Boruto raised an accusing eyebrow at him and tension rose in the air. "Two-chan, you're drooling," Himawari squeaked, and Naruto quickly blushed and brought up his sleeve to wipe it, getting a laugh out of his family. "I swear, Two-san, you have a sixth sense for when mom's cooking ramen." Boruto laughed before his mother chirped in. "No, he just has an ANBU on special ramen watch, so he always knows when I cook it." Hinata laughed, and the whole family laughed harder. Naruto was looking away, whistling an innocent tone, before everyone looked at him with suspicion, before they all broke up in laughter again. They all had tears in their eyes as they laughed, It's been way too long since they could all relax and laugh together as a family. The whole family sat down and started talking adamantly about their day as they enjoyed the feast prepared by their loving mother/wife. As they finished, they chilled in the living room for a bit, until it was all time to go to bed. Naruto tucked in Himawari with a goodnight kiss on the cheek, before he went to do the same to Boruto, despite his constant protest that he's too big for it. As Naruto tucked his son in bed, Boruto asked Tusan, "Do you think we could go fishing tomorrow?" "Sure son, I promise," Naruto whispered as Boruto's eyes started to drop. "Good, and Yan, remember you never go back on your word," he told his father before he nodded off to sleep. Naruto walked up and gave his son a kiss on the head that he wouldn't have been able to get away with if he was awake. "I know, and I will keep it," he whispered before he said goodnight, and went to join his beloved wife in bed. Naruto walked in and was greeted to the wonderful sight of his wife, wearing a see-through lavender dress, her twins on full display and two swollen nubs showing she was aroused as she laid on the bed waiting for her husband to claim her. Naruto's jaw dropped at the sight. Her silky black hair was dripping wet from a fresh shower, and she had snow-white pale skin that contrasted perfectly with her lavender underwear. She gazed at her husband with wanton desire in her lavender eyes. Naruto gulped as he felt the all-too-familiar stir in his pants, and gave a slight growl as he succumbed to his own lust, that wanted nothing more to hear her scream her name in passion. It had been far too long since they last had some intimacy. Naruto crept his way to his wife like a predator stalking its prey. Oh, the irony! Years ago, she was the one stalking him, and now she loved the power trip she had every time she saw her husband's eyes clouded with desire for her. She didn't need to chase after him now, instead he was the one chasing her. "Naruto-kun, would you like to have some fun tonight?" Hinata purred with a predator smirk of her own as her husband dumbly nodded. In bed she was a whole other person. "Great. Because I was thinking about us, maybe having another child," Hinata asked/pleaded her husband. The sudden suggestion brought her husband back to his senses and out of the daze he was in. But he was still left wanting her, and knew that he couldn't deny her anything she wanted when she was half naked and oozing sexuality. "Haim, you know I would love and willingly do anything you say, but are you sure? I mean, I haven't really been father of the year since I became Hokage," Naruto told her. Fight back the urge to just take her and at least talk about this before she ends up pregnant again. "Yes, I am Himawari and Boruto are growing up fast, and I know for a fact they would love another sibling to play with, and I want to have someone to baby while I wait for grandchildren," Hinata told him, crossing her legs in hypnotic manner and tempting Naruto. "Just take her." "I know that, but I miss so much of their lives. What if I do it again and mess up this time too?" Naruto was almost crying. He loved his family with all his heart, and would give up being Hokage in a heartbeat if he had to. "Naruto, I know you're worried, and I also know you always wanted a big family, and you also want to restore your mother's clan." Hinata walked up to her husband, swaying her hips seductively as she did, causing Naruto to groan at the unfair adventure she had. But I almost lost Boruto." He was silenced by his wife's finger, as she gave a hot and fierce look. "Now you listen to me, Naruto Uzumaki, we love you, I love you, Himawari loves you, and so does Boruto, so don't you ever say that you almost lost one of us, because we love you and are here to stay," Hinata shouted as her husband, and a lone tear dropped at hearing that as he hugged his wife. "I know, Haim, I know. I just don't want to make my family suffer like I had. I hate myself for making Bolt and Hima feel like they grew up without a father." Naruto sobbed into her neck. "Naruto-kun, do you remember what I called you all those years ago, when I told you what I think of you?" Hinata asked as she lifted Naruto's head and they stared into each other's eyes as lavender orbs crossed blue. Naruto remembered the time. It was the first time someone wholeheartedly believed in him, the first time someone supported, and it was the first time his wife gave him the strength to keep moving forward. It was then that he fell in love with her. As her husband nodded, Hinata continued, "You are my proud failure. You may fall down, you may make mistakes, but you always get back up and make it right. You did that with Boruto, and you will do it for our future children," Hinata told him determinedly, and Naruto fell in love with her all over again at seeing the same strength that saved him those years ago and left him enamored with her. Naruto gave a chuckle as he felt his desire stir at seeing his wife show her claws and exactly why he falls in love with her, and he knew he lost this round. "You're right, you always are. I can never beat you. It's a good thing you're always here to knock some sense into me," he told her as he gazed into the lavender moons she has for eyes. Hinata brought her hand up, cupping her Naruto-kun's cheek and stroking his whiskers like she did all those years ago on the battlefield where he almost gave up hope. "Of course, I'll always be by your side, because I love you and I always will," she whispered as she kissed him. As the two broke apart, Hinata looked at him with pleading eyes. "Does that mean?" Her husband cut her off. "Yes," he told her, pulling her body into his so he could feel all of her ample bosom and delicious curves. "Let's make our family bigger, Haim," he growled before he attacked her lips with his, causing her to release a very happy squeal/moan in delight as his tongue tasted the moist cavern of her mouth, and their tongues tasted and battled each other, having missed the sweet taste of each other for so long. As the two broke apart, breathing heavily as sweat began to form on their brow, Hinata breathed out, "Good, because I need you now, ahhh. It's been far ahhh. Too long, and I can't wait any longer ahhh." As the words left her mouth, Naruto was using his teeth pulled the dress off of her, and his tongue and hands caressed her divine body. As the dress fell to the floor, Naruto kissed his wife with hunger, and they continued their battle of tongues while Hinata wrapped her bare legs around his waist and arms around his neck as her husband carried her off to bed to claim her. Ahab! Naruto Kunn was just barely stopped by the silencing seals as the two soulmates consummated their love again. A very pleased and satisfied Naruto was lying in bed on his side. His skin was sweaty and boiling to the touch. His hair was disheveled after the hours of making sweet love to his gorgeous wife. In his arms was an equally if not more so pleased and satisfied Hinata. Her sweaty skin was sticking to his. Her long midnight blue hair was disheveled as it spread all over the bed, and her lover. Both were still attached at the waist as close as humanly possible, loving every second of them being connected with their soulmate. Naruto's hand was stroking Hinata's exposed stomach lovely, and his wife gave a sigh of content from his minstrels. So Naruto-kun, what do you think we should name our latest addition to the family? His blue-haired lover asked. Well, let's see, how about Kurama? Naruto grinned at his wife, and he heard a certain fox choke in the back of his mind. Kurama Uzumaki has a nice ring to it, I like it. Hinata smiled as she snuggled into her husband's embrace more. And if it's a girl? Hinata questioned. Well, you pick the name, you're better at it than I am. Naruto told her, his head buried in her hair. No, I named both Boruto and Himawari, so it's only right you name at least two of our children now. Akanami for Red Wave, that is assuming she is born with the Uzumaki red hair. If not, I'll think of something when I see her. I want to make sure her name will mean something and show how special she is in her own right. Naruto told his wife after a moment of thought. Akanami, I like it, and I hope we do have a child with your mother's hair one day. Hinata said, and she hoped she could give Naruto more children. As Hinata closed her eyes, her blonde lover started speaking. You know, sometimes I wish I never became Hokage. This jolted Hinata from her sleep, and she was about to attack the person on instinct, because her Naruto-kun would never utter those words, but stopped because she knew her lover was the real deal. Only the real Naruto could make her feel so good. Feeling the jolt and the slight, but almost fatal gentle fist strike, Naruto went to explain. Don't get me wrong, I love the village and happy that I achieved my dream, but if I had known that I wouldn't get as much time with my family, I would have waited until Bolt, Hima and any other children we had were grown up. Naruto told her, a tinge of regret in his voice. Hinata sighed, knowing her husband still felt guilty for how his job took him away from their family too much, and would probably always feel guilty about it. Naruto-kun, it's not your fault, the village needed you and we couldn't ask you to give up your dream for us. Naruto kissed Hinata as she said that and then pulled her closer as he whispered, no, you're wrong. This what we have here, you, Bolt, Hima. All this was my real dream and what I always truly wanted. I would give up being Hokage any day, to enjoy living with my family, to always come home to someone. To you means more to me than anything else. Naruto told her, and Hinata smiled. Naruto-kun, I love. Hinata said before she fell asleep. I love you, Hinata-hime, with all my heart and soul. Naruto told her before he too closed his eyes, but before he did he had one last thought. I love this life, but if I had the chance I would make sure I didn't neglect all of you, even if it meant giving up being Hokage. If I could do it over, I would make sure I returned your love sooner, my Hime. With that, the seventh Hokage closed his eyes and the world faded away as his beloved slept soundly in his arms. Naruto woke up with a yawn, noticing the familiar lack of warmth to his side and the lack of a hot body next to him. Hime must have woke up and let me sleep in for once, he thought, stretching with a yawn. He felt the odd tug of clothing. He was sure he went to bed naked. Hime must have dressed me, too. Damn, I must have been exhausted to sleep through that. Naruto swung his legs to the side of bed, not noticing that his legs didn't touch the floor like they usually did. With an odd thump, Naruto touched the floor. Naruto's nose twitched, his face crunched up in disgust. Ugh! What that hell is that smell? I swear, Boruto, if this is one of your pranks, you're going to get it. He shouted, his voice funny from holding his nose. Naruto took a step forward, he tripping on something. He rolled forwards until he crashed into something. Ow! Naruto whined, rubbing the bump on his head. Damn, that hurt. I can't wait to have some of Haime's delicious breakfast. This day is starting out horrible so far. He whined in his head. He couldn't wait to start the day properly with a good breakfast. Naruto! A familiar voice shouted through a bang on his door. Awake now, Naruto turned to see his old sensei clothed in full shinobi gear. Instincts kicked in like a switch. Naruto's demeanor changed entirely. No longer was he the goofy, fun-loving dad and husband. His blue eyes darkened and the Hokage in him came out full force. In Hokage mode, Naruto spoke with authority and a slight edge, swinging the door open. Irika, this better be good. I gave Shika and Kakashi strict orders not to disturb me. What is so important that you had to come and get me? Irika gave a stunned look at seeing Naruto speak this way. Naruto heard alarms going off in his head, looking at Irika. Inspecting him carefully, he saw that the man's face was younger, had the single scar across his nose, and the familiar ponytail. He looked exactly the same, except Naruto examined Irika's face again and saw that it looked over 20 years younger. Naruto's deep blue eyes narrowed, locking on the imposter in front of him. His feet moved slightly to prepare to take out the threat. Iruka, seeing Naruto focusing on him with a threatening look in his eyes, went to speak near it. He was cut off by Naruto's body flickering. Naruto's body seemed to refuse his commands, slamming into Iruka's legs. The older man lost his footing, falling into the wall behind him, effectively knocking him out. Oh! What the hell was that? My body refused to move how I wanted it to. Naruto thought, rubbing the new bump on his head, trying to get up only to fall on his butt as his legs moved the wrong way. Annoyed, Naruto looked at the imposter, assuming it was his fault he wasn't moving properly. His eyes widened, looking at the room he was in. It wasn't his room. Well, it was, except it was the room in his apartment building from when he was genin. Naruto looked down to see he was wearing the pajamas he favored as a kid, and stubby little legs and arm from not eating right as a child. Looking around his apartment, he saw that everything was how he remembered it: clothes and ramen cups scattered about, mold growing all over the place, and stains from ramen and various things all over the place. It even had the same disgusting smell to it. Yuck! Did I really used to be that much of a slob before Hinata came into my life? Naruto struggled to get off the floor, though having more success this time, despite the awkwardness with his body. Looks like a five senses illusion, coupled with distortion of motion control and coordination. Or even a jutsu that disrupts nervous signals themselves. He thought, flexing his hand, and it felt and moved weirdly compared to what he wanted. Thank Kami-sama for Hinata teaching me so much about genjutsu after we got together. I wouldn't have recognized or named the effects if I was still my ignorant pre-Hinata days. Naruto recalled, identifying the symptoms in seconds. Naruto growled in irritation. Damn fox. He's going to pay for slacking off and letting me get caught in a genjutsu. Grumbling, and after a minute of intense concentration, Naruto stopped the flow of his chakra. He quickly released a pulse that would remove any genjutsu within 10 meters. If any NBU were in the area, they'd be notified by the spike of chakra. Naruto looked around, still seeing his old apartment, and that his body was still his 12-year-old self. He was irritated even more, but remained calm. Something his senseis all made sure he practiced a lot, and cried tears of joy when Hinata succeeded in teaching him what they failed to do. Okay, it's not a genjutsu. Could it be a mental jutsu? No, Jinchuriki have an innate mastery of their minds. Not even Ino could oppose me in here, and she couldn't enter without permission, well, not without being eaten anyway. Naruto considered, entering his thinking pose with difficulty, and pondered further. If it's not a mental jutsu or a genjutsu, that leaves a mental genjutsu where the target is trapped in an illusion within his or her own mind, or the mind of the caster. But most genjutsu of that caliber require visual prowess like Itachi's Tsukuyomi. Sasuke and Sarada are the only ones with the Sharingan now, and only Sasuke would be able to cast it. I don't feel his chakra with our resonance, so it can't be him. Naruto pondered, his brow furrowed in concentration. He was reaching his limit. Okay, if it's not of the genjutsu or mental jutsu class, then it has to be a ninjutsu, one that changes the environment, based on the target's memories and thoughts, with a self-applying feature to prevent release from chakra pulses, cast over the area. Naruto smirked, figuring out the jutsu used on him. If that's the case, I just need to blow it away with a large dose of chakra. Naruto smirked maliciously, as he raising his chakra to what he assumed should be roughly 5% and released a pulse of chakra. If his calculations are correct, the pulse should reach outward to about a diameter of 5 kilometers, which would be almost the size of the Konohagakure. The fake Iruka awoke just at the time of the chakra release and felt the immense chakra wave that originated from his student and Naruto, he thought, in astonishment and fear, because the amount of chakra released was insane from an academy student, and he almost peed himself from it. When Naruto was done, he was shaken that whatever jutsu he was in didn't come undone. Whatever patience he had was lost as frustration reached its peak. That's it. I don't know what the hell this jutsu is, but no more playing the fuck around. He shouted with ferocity, scaring the Iruka, with how much anger was held in those few words. Naruto closed his eyes and focused the yang chakra of the Sage of Six Paths gifted to him by Super Gramps. With much greater difficulty than he was used to, he brought out a single Truth Seeker ball composed of all nature elements. This Truth Seeker ball will neutralize any jutsu or chakra it comes in contact with. No matter the jutsu used, this will undo it. Naruto spoke out loud, a crazed glint in his eyes and perspiration from the effort he had to use. Iruka looked at the black orb, fearful, his chakra going wild from an instinctual reaction to it. But as both Iruka and Naruto stared at the orb, a creak appeared in it. Naruto stared dumbly. It's not supposed to do that. Looking at the orb, more cracks appeared, and before he knew it, boom! The orb of destruction exploded, sending Naruto into the wall and forcing Iruka to stay down. Rubbing his head, Naruto grumbled, "Fuck." Looking towards where he was just a few seconds ago, he spotted a hole in what was his apartment, and made an even bigger mess than there already was. I'm so glad I don't need to clean this up, he thought, turning to see a few of the windows broken. He couldn't stop a single tear at the sight of a fake Mr. Uki, his precious plant that survived even Pain's assault, the one his Hinata gave him in secret as children. Lying on the floor, his pot knocked over and broken, his roots destroyed. Naruto stood up, wincing in pain, his body covered in all sorts of cuts and bruises, pajamas slightly singed. Okay, this is definitely not a genjutsu. It hurt way too much to be an illusion. He surveyed the room and the damage AAH. What the hell is going on here? The seventh Hokage roared. Irika, seeing that Naruto calmed down somewhat and stopped doing crazy things and recovered from his own injuries, went to speak. When Naruto noticed, he immediately had another idea. Wait, if I am trapped, then they most likely want to either keep me here out of the way or want information. That would explain why everything looks like it did from my memories. But something doesn't feel right. If they wanted information, it would have been more effective to make sure everything was the same and as close to real life as possible. But there are also details that I shouldn't remembered, or at least I don't think so. I didn't remember them until I saw them. Better ask Ino about that when I get back. He mused, getting off track. Putting his mind once again on track, he finished his thoughts. If they wanted information, they would be spying on me, somehow. It's possible the people here are actual disguised as my friends and loved ones to trick me. In which case, he grinned at the fake Irika, a menacing glint in his eyes, and the man held his tongue from seeing it. I need to escape and find out what these bastards have done to my family. Naruto focused, trying to get the fox's chakra to change his appearance. But he was barely able to summon it up, and was only able to lengthen the nails of a single hand, looking at his mismatched claw. They must have drugged me since I can't use chakra right. Maybe that's why my Truth Seeker ball failed and why my body doesn't move right. Irika was looking at the claw before Naruto disappeared, feeling a kick to his side. Looking at what hit him, he saw Naruto awkwardly positioned over him as if he was about to fall over. Naruto swayed and steadied himself by putting a hand on Irika's shoulder. Now recovered from his failed attempt to body flicker, he lowered his clawed hand at Irika's manhood. Irika's sweat dropped, and he was afraid of the sharp claw that were ready to neuter him as it hovered dangerously close to him. If you don't want to lose what makes you a man, you will tell me what the fuck you've done with my family or else. As if reinforcing his threat, the claw floating near Irika's crotch went closer, skillfully cutting some of his pants, but left the boxers and skin underneath it untouched. Family? What the hell is he talking about? This can't be Naruto. Irika thought. He wearily eyed the claw centimeters from his manhood and gulped. Irika shook his fear off and questioned the person disguised as his student. Who are you, and what have you done with Naruto? Irika asked. Anger flared in his eyes at the thought of his missing student being held captive. That's nice. Playing the concerned card? Well, it won't work. Now tell me, what the fuck have you bastards have done with my family or else? Naruto spat with malice, done with fucking around when the family he's always wanted needs him. Seeing this reaction and how real Naruto's ire was, Irika decided to ask another question and hoped he lived through it. Naruto, name the entire Ichiraka menu? He asked, knowing that only a ramen fanatic like Naruto would know it. Naruto anger tripled at the question, and had enough. Kurama! Fucking get out here and tell me what the hell is going on. He shouted to his partner and friend, but got no reply. It worried him that Kurama was this quiet. He was only this quiet when he slept. Searching inward, Naruto found the familiar chakra that belonged to his fox friend. He relaxed, knowing that his partner was still with him. But something felt off to Naruto. It felt weaker than usual. They must have sealed him so he couldn't help. Well, these amateurs should know better than to use seals on an Uzumaki. After Naruto found out about his mother and clan, he searched for anything related to the Uzumaki clan. It was hard, but he did discover quite a lot about his clan's history. Most of the history and jutsu was lost, but he still proved himself to be talented in Fuinjutsu. He practiced the art, and thanks to the shadow clones, God bless them, it hadn't taken him much time to master. Hey, you damn fox! How could you allow someone to get the drop on you? Naruto shouted as he pulled up his shirt and channeling chakra into his belly. Irika's ears perked up at the mention of fox. He watched wide-eyed as the fourth seal appeared on Naruto's stomach. He was an expert in barrier jutsus himself. He could tell it was no fake. What the hell? Naruto exclaimed, seeing an exact replica of his father's 8 trigrams seal. It was too exact to be a fake, and Naruto didn't have the knowledge in Fuinjutsu to memorize it when he was younger, so it couldn't be his mind's doing. He could make out the writer's quirk of his father that he saw when he looked through his old seals. Each seal master had their own quirk and style that acts as the equivalent of a fingerprint. Only that it can't be copied, not even by a Sharingan, since the muscle memory plays a big role in it. Every person writes their seals differently, and a seal master can easily identify the maker and quirks of the seal within seconds. But it would be almost impossible for Naruto to recreate a perfect replica of his father's seal, even if his mind added the quirks he knows about. Fuinjutsu is too complicated, and one could always tell the fake from the real thing if one knew what to look for. Naruto shook his thoughts and focused his mind inward to enter his mindscape. It was harder than before with the new seal on him, but he still managed to do it. He entered the sewer, with water in it, and seeing the cage the Kyuubi had been trapped in for most of his life. The word for seal stood on the bars, unblemished, showing it was still in peak condition. Kit! What the hell is going on? Why the hell am I behind this repugnant cage again? Boomed Kurama's voice, angry at being trapped after years of freedom, thanks to his container. Naruto's heart went out to the beast, knowing how hard it was being locked up again is for his friend. I don't know, Kurama. I just woke in my old apartment building with a young Irika yelling at me. I'm in my 12-year-old body. I don't what the hell's going. Or what the fuck happened to Hinata, Boruto, and Himawari? Naruto shouted, anguish in his voice to his friend, and noticed his voice sounded normal. Looking down, he saw that he appeared in his adult form with his Hokage robes. This confirmed that he was in his mindscape, since he appears how he sees himself at the time he entered. Kurama looked at his container, and even though he'd have trouble admitting it, his friend and he could feel the pain and worry he feels for his family and mate. A feeling he shares seeing the kid's family as his own family after living with them for so long, and having watched the little kids grow up. Naruto, it will be alright. We'll rescue our family and tear the bloody bastard that put us in this mess apart ourselves. The dreaded Kyuubi tried to reassure his container as best he can, in his own violent. Naruto, knowing the Kyuubi so well, it worked, and he calmed down. Thanks Kurama, I needed that. Naruto thanked his long-term partner and friend. Don't go soft on me, now Kit. We got work to do and figure out what the bloody hell is happening. Kurama teased. The boy he's come to see as his own, and grinned when he got the response he wanted. Naruto slammed his fist into his palm, feeling his usual energy come back. Right, let's do this and figure out what's happening. Naruto shouted with determination. Perhaps I could be of some assistance in that endeavor. Came an old, but powerful voice, surprising the two occupants that should have been the only ones allowed to enter this plane. Naruto and Kurama, turning towards the new voice, were shocked at who they saw. Super Gramps/old man. Shouted a shocked Naruto and Kurama respectively. What the hell are you doing here? They asked in sync. Long time no see Naruto-kun. Kurama-kun, I've been watching for a long time now, observing you, and am quite satisfied with what the shinobi world had become thanks to you. Greeted the ancient sage. Both Naruto and the fox nodded dumbly at the sudden appearance and casual greeting of what could be arguably one of the strongest beings in existences, and how he greeted them like they were having afternoon tea. The almost omnipotent sage went on to answer the duo's question as if it was ordinary to show and talk to them out of the blue. Now I am here to inform you of what's going on, and where you are, my children. The sage answered fatherly, since he was speaking to his son's reincarnation and one of the children he created. Wait. You know what's going on? Naruto asked, excited beyond belief that he was finally going to get some answers to his mystifying ordeal. Yes, Naruto-kun, it is quite simple in fact. You see, you and Kurama-kun have traveled back in time about roughly 20 years into the past. The sage told them without a care in the world, like he didn't just tell them they did something the space-time continuum shouldn't really allow. We what? Screamed the two time travelers before they both fainted, and Naruto hit the floor on his back and Kurama followed, his legs hanging in the air. The sage looked at his two children like figures in confusion before asked to no one in particular, was it something I said? After a few minutes in the mindscape, which only to amounted almost 0 seconds in reality, Naruto and the fox woke as they both jumped to their feet in sync and shouted at the god of all shinobi, what the hell do you mean we traveled back in time? The sage looked at them as he sipped green tea while levitating in the lotus position, and both the Jinchuriki and tailed beast had to fight to stay conscious at the casualness the ancient sage was treating the situation, as both of their eyes twitched. Finally awake, good, and it's exactly as I said, we are all now 20 years in the past. Both Kurama and Naruto face-palmed and cried anime tears at the sage's casual approach and answer. They both discovered the source of the legendary Uzumaki unfounded and clueless behavior. I mean, how did this happen? Time travel shouldn't be possible, should it? Naruto asked, having adjusted to the crazy situation. Well, that is where you are wrong. Nothing is really impossible with the right power and knowledge. Even time travel, I myself actually use it to travel to the future quite a lot to see the results of people's actions. Naruto and Kurama were left dumbstruck at this revelation. All their prior knowledge of the universe meant nothing. As for how you traveled back, that is because of you, Naruto-kun. The sage finally revealed, pointing an aged finger at the man. Me, what the hell did I do? Naruto shouted as the sage told him. He was the one who caused the situation they were in. You, Naruto-kun, have had half of my power and chakra, along with the chakra of all of my children, the tailed beasts. I believe you subconsciously tapped into that power and brought yourself and Kurama to this time period. The sage told them the answer to all the questions. Naruto remembered thinking if he could do it all over the night before, but he never really wanted it to happen, to be away from his family. Shaken by the revelation, Naruto asked in a shaky voice, how can we go back? The sage looked down sadly to the man in front of him before he told them, you can't go back, Naruto-kun. He answered in a sad voice, showing some true emotion for the first. What do you mean we can't go back? Naruto screamed. It's exactly what I said, you can't go back, it's impossible to reverse what you've done. The sage sorrowfully told them, earning a shocked and outrageous look from the two. But you said that time travel to the future is possible, why can't we go back? Naruto questioned the almost omniscient being's logic. Yes, travel to the future is possible. Naruto smiled as the sage said this, however, sending you back to where we came from cannot be done. The sage finished, much to the dejected Naruto. See, can't be done, why not? Naruto asked weakly, a look of loss and despair appearing in his eyes for the first time in years. Simple, Naruto-kun, for you. See, the future we came from no longer exists. Naruto dropped to his knees and his mindscape cracked a bit. What? He whispered weakly, but on the inside, He didn't want to hear it. Time travel is complicated. While possible, it changes the universe drastically. The Rinnegan wielder started his lecture, and with a wave of his staff a blue river of light appeared in front of him. For you see, time is like a river ever moving forward, never stopping. This is how events are supposed to play out, only happening once. The sage told them, but when something goes against the current, and the river flows in reverse, it destroys the river. The sage demonstrated, and Naruto felt his heart break as an orange dot appeared in the river and went backwards against the current, and the river of blue light disintegrated as it did. When the river is destroyed, it begins to form a new river, but this new river is different from the old one, and will never be completely the same. I can send you back into the future, however it won't be the future you came from. The sage finished as a new river of blue light formed. But why, if that's the case, shouldn't a time paradox have happened? I shouldn't exist now if the future I came from is gone. Naruto shouted in desperation, hoping what the sage said was a lie, that he can still go back. True, but you see, because you are the one that traveled back in time, you became similar to me, a being that exists outside of time. The orange dot flew outside the river of light before the sage continued, because of that the laws of time don't apply to you and you exist even though the future you come from doesn't. Naruto fell into despair, as the hopelessness of the situation filled him. So I can't go be back to my time? Naruto asked to confirm. Yes, that is circumstance you're in. I could send you 20 years in the future, but since the laws of time don't apply to you, you will be sent. But it will be like you just disappeared from this point onward and then reappeared in future you arrive in. Entire events will take place as if you never existed. The sage finished his explanation of time. So I can't go back. Hinata, Boruto, Himawari, they're gone and it's all my fault. At the revelation, Naruto fell into despair. His eyes hollow and empty, all fire that they held gone, extinguished as the truth of the situation hit him, and his mindscape cracked even more. The family he loved, the dream he spent his entire life building, gone, and all because of him. He destroyed it all because he was selfish, because he was greedy and wanted more than he already had. He ruined and destroyed hundreds of lives. He'll never wake up with his Haim in his arms. He'll never see his children smile again because they don't exist. Anyone, they're gone forever because of him. So many lives were unborn. Boruto, Himawari, Sarada, Mirai, they don't exist. All the good he's done or the sacrifices made, all pointless. He and Hinata aren't married. There's no shinobi alliance. All his friends' lives and happy futures were destroying, all because of him. All was ruined. He lost everything because of him. It was all his fault. There was no way around it. Naruto screamed in anguish, and his mindscape was torn asunder as his scream of utter agony and despair echoed through his mind, collapsing it, much to the sage's and Fox's shock. Naruto Kyuin shouted the two supernatural beings as they watched, horrified as Naruto's mindscape reformed to reflect his state of mind. They watched, powerless to stop the transformation, as the once clear water and walls of the sphere became a void of darkness and despair, radiating nothing but guilt, sorrow, anguish, torment, grief. Every negative emotion known to man was carved into his very soul. Now Naruto's mindscape was nothing but an empty void. All that stood in it was the cage Kurama was in, and that was only because he was focusing on keeping some ground under him. The rebuilt fourth seal had cracks in it as big as his ever seen. The bars of his prison were fractured and rusted, like it would break completely if the fox so much as breathed. The paper for seal that served as the lock and centerpiece of the prison was almost completely gone, and all that remained that was keeping the seal together was a single piece of paper about only 1/10 of its original size, and it looked like that would go any second. The other occupant, the sage, hovered within the void, his ripple eyes gazing sadly at the boy in front of him. In the center of the mindscape hovered Naruto Uzumaki, in a little boy's body of roughly 5 years old. He was no longer the invincible man that made the impossible possible. He wasn't the person that was known for his guts to never give up and prevail no matter the odds against him. No, standing in front of him was no longer the boy that fought fate and destiny. Naruto Uzumaki was a shell of his former self, his eyes ringed hollow, filled with only the hopelessness and despair. His once bright and spiky hair now hung lifeless and dulled, and his 5-year-old body looked weak, suffering from malnutrition. He was nothing but skin and bones, as his lifeless pale white skin was the only thing that could really be made out in the darkness. The will of fire had gone out, and Naruto Uzumaki faced defeat. Both the two supernatural beings looked over their charge in grief, not expecting that the boy they knew so well as the brightness and most determined person could be drained of all life and reduced to this pitiful state. Both of them felt their stomach turn. A look of disgust overcame them as the concentrated emotions around them suffocated the two, making them both feel and look weaker, their sensitive senses being overloaded by the sheer anguish that Naruto was going through. "Old man, what the hell have you fucking done?" roared the enraged fox, feeling anger at its creator and father figure for what he did to its kit. Hagoromo looked at the empty shell of Uzumaki with regret, and flinched at the anger one of his children was giving him, having not felt it since Indra strayed from the right path. "I'm sorry, Kurama-kun, I didn't mean to cause this to happen," the sage told him in sorrow. He only wanted to help the young boy out and explain the situation he was in. "You didn't mean to. You basically told him he ended the world, destroying everything he cares about, and you just say you didn't mean to." Kurama bellowed in outrage, feeling something he never thought he'll feel for its father, pure hate. You should know how sensitive the kid is after the life he's lived through, that hell and being told that he lost everything he loves and took his entire life to get is gone now because of him. And you didn't mean to cause this. The fox raged and made the sage grimace, feeling guilty knowing everything the fox told him was true, when it put it like that. He knew the life Naruto went through was hard and it was a miracle he became who he was before, but because of that he misguidedly thought that nothing could bring him down and extinguish the fires of determination that always burned in his soul. But he forgot one simple fact: Naruto was only human, and even he has a breaking point. That breaking point was losing the dream he never thought he'd have, the family and love he always wished for, and all because of him. The sage's shoulders sagged in regret, shame and guilt as he apologized to his two boys. I'm sorry Naruto-kun and Kurama-kun, I truly am. Even near omniscient and omnipotent can make mistakes if they're not careful. Sorry isn't going to cut it, we need to get the kid back to his old self. The QB told his maker, and the sage agreed. You're right, there's one thing I should mention then. With a wave of his staff the blue river from before appeared, but it only had a dull light to it now because of the atmosphere draining his powers. Even though it is impossible to create the exact same future as before, some things will still happen and not change as long as you or anyone else interferes with it. For you see, like all rivers, when a new one is formed it flows and forms on the remains of the previous one. A faint canal appeared under the river of light, it curved and turned and the blue river poured into it, and flowed down the channel. You see, this is what is known as fate. As long as specified conditions are met, then so will events from the preceding timeline be recreated. Even if the timeline has changed, it will continue to run the course that is the most easiest to run and already set. Only beings like ourselves can change the outcome. The sage lectured again about the theory and logic behind time. If you started with this, maybe you would have been able to keep the kid together long enough for him to fix his mistake. Kurama growled as it gestured to Naruto, who, much to both beings' dismay, hardly reacted. The sage continued his speech in hopes of getting a reaction from the broken boy. Anyway, even though your children aren't born yet, regardless of when or where, as long as Hinata-chan gets pregnant again by you, she is granted to give birth to Boruto-kun and Himawari-chan, so you will see them again. You just need to make it happen. The sage finished and managed to get the boy to at least look at him with his lifeless eyes. Kurama, seeing this was working, but not as well as he hoped, added in his own 2 cents. In other words, you can fix all your mistakes and make a better life for your family as long as you get back together with your vixen. Kurama told its kit, and Naruto reacted and spoke back for the first time. But even if I did get back with Hinaheim, what's to say it won't happen again? That I won't destroy my future and life again, ruining everything we made and had together? Naruto argued weakly. No worries there, Naruto-kun. Now that you are aware of your powers, you will only travel in time if you physically will it to happen. You will never do it by your subconscious again. The sage spoke up, but Naruto snapped at him. Even so, I don't deserve Hinataheim anymore. She was happy, we all were, and I ruined it. I'm a monster that took away everyone's life and future. I don't deserve to be loved. I don't deserve to be happy. Naruto snapped. The revelation that he caused it seemed to bring back all the fears he had of becoming the monster the villagers saw him as when he was younger, and in the end they were right. He ruined everything and destroyed everything. Kurama looked at Naruto sadly, feeling pity that the only human it really ever came to respect as an equal, the one who pulled itself from the darkness, gave it a life of happiness and a future worth living for. The one that saved it, and all of his brethren, from the path of darkness and destruction they were heading for, the one who freed them from their hate, was falling into the same darkness and self-destructive path. Kurama would not let it happen. This time it was its turn to save its family, and the closest thing to a son he had. So that's it, you are just going to give and let everyone down, you're going to abandon your friends and family, you precious mate. Kurama growled as taunted its container. I never said that. I just don't deserve to be happy after what I've done. I failed, I always fail. Naruto responded downcast. Well, it sure bloody sounds like it. Or have you forgotten that it was you who saved your mate from her suffering? That it was you who became the hero of the world and saved everyone, ending all wars as we know it, and brought in a golden age? Kurama's voice boomed throughout void, and Naruto shouted back. Some hero. I ended up destroying the world as we know it, and caused everyone we know to lose their happiness. Naruto responded with red eyes and tears. The weight of what he'd done too much to bear alone. Well, good thing he won't have to carry it alone, because he's never alone, and never will be. Then fix it, or are you just going to let everyone suffer, because you're having a pity party? Who will stop that Uchiha from going down the path of vengeance? Who will stop Madara and Kagaya? Who will save Obito? Did you forget all the good you did? Did you forget that it was you who saved your mate from her suffering and gave her a life worth living? Kurama spat, and Naruto shook in denial as he whispered, I'm sure Hinataheim would find someone else and live a much happier life. He told himself half-heartedly, hating every word he spoke like it was poison, but his Heim deserved better than him. As if reading his thought, the fox had a sarcastic grin as it gave a response. That's assuming if she didn't kill herself to escape her torment. At those words, memories of when he and his Heim first got together flowed through his mind. Naruto-kun, if it wasn't for I would have probably gave up on living long ago. And don't give me that look, I know it's true, you've always been the son that guided me. You were the one who showed me how to be a proud failure. His Heim smiled at him. If it wasn't for you, I would have took my own life to escape, believing that I was a failure that didn't deserve to live and deserved death. Hoping it would make all those that I failed happy. When I fought Niji Nizan in pain, I didn't expect to live, and a small part of me wanted to die, to be free of my pain no matter the cost. But you saved me, Naruto-kun. Your smile gave me hope, your will to never give up allowed me to walk down the right. It was your Nindo that allowed me to have the life I'm living now. It was all you, the happiness I have now, the wonderful life I live was all thanks to you. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Hinata cried before she finished. Thank you for loving me, thank you for making me fall in love with you, because it was thanks to my love for you that I am who I am today. I love you, Naruto-kun, and I always will, and no one else can ever change that. Naruto memories finished, and told the fox he was wrong. In denial. You're wrong, Hinata can live without me, she's strong. But will she be happy? She could end marring that mutt because she doesn't have you and sees no reason to care about the life she lives. She could end up being married off to some bastard, who doesn't care and will only rape her over and over again. Kurama told him just what could happen to his mate, just how bad she could have it without him. Naruto finally reacted for the first time, in pure anger at the thought of his Heim with anyone else, the thought of her being abused by some filthy lowlife. I will never let my Heim be hurt like that. I'll kill anyone who so much as looks at her wrong. Naruto roared. But that's exactly what will happen without you there. And what about the little kids Boruto and Himichan? Are you alright for them to lost their chance of life? To be erased from existence because their father can't bring himself to care and fight for them, to get them back. Kurama snapped. No, I don't want that. I would never give up on them. Naruto snapped back. Well, that is exactly what you're doing. What happened to the Naruto that never gave up? The one that always fought till the end? The Naruto that your mate loved, the one your kids loved and were proud to call their father. You moan and moan, but where did Naruto the proud failure go? The one that didn't live for himself, but for his loved ones and would have sacrificed everything for them. Naruto looked at the fox, some of his past light and determination returning as the fire in his sapphire orbs was lit anew. He stared at his closest friend and family, the one who's always been with him in his own way and watched over and protected him. The pathetic human in front of me is not the one I came to call my friend and family. The Naruto I know lives for others, not himself. Now are you going to keep on whining, or are you going to do something and get your family back? If you won't live for yourself, then live for them, your mate, your children, for Hinaheim, Boruto and Himaheim. Fight and live for them, like you always have. The fox spoke with passion and purpose as he grinned at seeing the light of hope shine in his container's azure eyes. Ha ha! Naruto laughed, and he stood up. You're right. You're right. I just can't give up. I need to fight for them, for my family. Naruto grinned. He was still a long way from being the man he would become, but his blonde hair went back to its normal color and wild state. His skin took its natural tan hue. His cobalt orbs burned with the will of fire once more. To Kurama, this was the image of the boy it watched over as he grew up from a baby to the man that he would become. The one that succeeded where all others failed, the proud failure that always stands tall no matter the odds. The boy that it saw as a son and was proud to do so, one worthy of being Hokage and successor to its old man's will. He was Naruto Uzumaki, he who shall always move forward and down his path without regrets. Naruto still had a long way to go before he was who he used to be, but now he was finally starting to look like the man he was going to be someday, the man that changed the world. Both boy and fox stretched out their fists and bumped them together, a sign of their friendship, respect and partnership as equals. As long as the two live, they will always be by the other's side. The sage of six paths couldn't help the tears that fall from his eyes from seeing the bond the two shared. For a time, he'd given up on the humans that persecuted the children he had created, but looking at what the two shared, he knew that he made the right choice. Humans may make mistakes, but the bonds they share know no limits, and give them strength far beyond what they could ever achieve alone. Naruto-kun, I'm sorry for the distress my words caused. I was only trying to help you. The sage spoke up, but Naruto waved the old man off. Don't, I needed it to hear it anyway. It would have happened either, and it's better than being blind. Thanks, Super Gramps. Naruto saluted. His mindscape was still a wreck, but it too will heal in time. Look on the bright side, kid. Now you can fix all the mistakes you made the first time around, like noticing your vixen sooner and delaying being Hokage so you get more family time. Kurama piped in, happy to have the old Naruto back. Yeah, you're right, just you wait, Hinaheim. I am going to make sure you and our future children are the happiest family in the world. Naruto shouted to the sky, his fist in the air. The sage faded from the mindscape at peace, knowing the young boy will be fine in the end, especially with the help of all those who support him. Naruto woke up back in the real world. Almost no time was lost looking at the bewildered Irika. He retracted his claws, looking embarrassedly at his old sensei. He clumsily rubbed the back of his head. Sorry about that, Irika-sensei, a lot sort of happened. Please forgive me. I'll treat you to ramen. Naruto pleaded as he put his hands in front and begged for forgiveness. Irika looked confused at the sudden change in the person that he doesn't know whether to call his student or not. He decided to ask one thing before he did anything else. Name the entire Jiraka menu? Irika asked. 10 minutes later, Naruto finished reciting the menu of, in his words, the greatest ramen stand on earth from heart, and gave detailed reviews of each dish of the so-called food of the gods. Which only Naruto Uzumaki could do. Iruka still had his doubts. But if there was one thing and only one thing he could trust from Naruto, it was ramen. Naruto, what the hell is going on? Iruka shouted. He came to pick his student up, who was late once again for the academy. Only to get slammed in the nuts and into a wall, be threatened to get neutered and find out his favorite student knows about the fox. Well, it's complicated. Naruto dodged, not knowing where to start, and whether his old sensei will believe him. How complicated? Iruka asked. Complicated enough that I may have to give up ramen if you don't believe me. Naruto toned at the depressing thought of losing his favorite food, but if he had to sacrifice it for his family, then so be it. Iruka gave a look of shock, knowing anything serious enough to make Naruto willingly give up ramen was way over their heads and would require a god to make sense of. Hopefully someone called the god of shinobi and professor will do. Okay, let's take it to the Hokage and hope the world doesn't end when you're forced to give up ramen for whatever craziness you got yourself into this time. Iruka saw Naruto flinch and his eyes almost went hollow as he said those words, and he knew that there was something much more serious than just losing ramen at stake for his student. Okay, let's Naruto tripped and landed on his face. Iruka's sweat dropped at the boy that just a few minutes ago was literally the scariest thing he's ever seen could barely even walk now. Can I get some help please? I'm not exactly 100% now. Naruto asked, and Iruka lifted the boy up and left for the Hokage tower still in his pajamas. As Iruka jumped across the rooftops of the village with Naruto on his back, he caught sight of many Umbu and ninja panicking about, most likely because of the massive chakra wave his charge released earlier. When they made it to the tower, it was chaos. Iruka rushed right to the Hokage's office, ignoring protests, and just barged into the room. He paused as he saw the elders of Konoha Council giving him the glare. To the grudgingly elders, respect. Iruka didn't back down, but before he could say anything, a blue blur shot past them and into the Hokage. Turning at whatever they saw move at such speeds, they were surprised to see the Kyuubi child hugging the third Hokage like a lifeline. Jizan Naruto sodded into the old man's Hokage robes. Hiruzen was baffled despite being so close to the young Jinchuriki, and having him call him grandfather. He never once seen the young boy cry so openly. The elders glared at the boy and Hiruzen tried to calm the crying boy down as he dismissed the elders. That is all for now. I have some other matters to attend to. But Hokage-sama, the massive amounts of chakra we sensed early can't be ignored. As a matter of fact, that thing. Koharu Yutane started, but stopped as killer intent skyrocketed. Say another word and you will be reminded that not even you are exempt from the law. The third Hokage threatened. All the elders bowed and left the room, glaring at Iruka as they passed him, and then slammed the door to the office closed. Now Naruto-kun, what's wrong and what happened? The third asked the crying boy in his lap with a grandfatherly voice. Sorry Jizan, I'm just really happy to see you. It's been way too long. Naruto smiled as he wiped his tears. Ho ho, it's only been a day since we last ate ramen together, my boy. The third laughed. For you maybe. But it's been a lot longer for me. I'll explain everything. But first get rid of the 6 Umbu in the room. I need to speak with you in private. Naruto told the third, much to his surprise. He wasn't very surprised that Naruto noticed the Umbu. They've been watching him his entire life, and he's had to run away from them enough times to know where they are. I swear how this boy can't pass the academy graduation test is beyond me. He's picked up the skills of most veteran Umbu members when it comes to infiltration, escaping, trap making and sensing, all without official training. If I gave him the Jonin or even the ANBU test, he could probably pass with flying colors just with those skills alone. The third contemplated, knowing if it wasn't the damn council, Naruto could probably be the village's leading assassination and infiltration expert by now. Well, it's not a completely bad thing. Kushina would have my head in the next life if she found out I made Naruto a murder without giving him a proper chance at a childhood first. The Hokage shivered. Memories of the red-hot habanero still give him the willies to this day. But enough musing, he needs to get to the matter at hand. There are only 5 Umbu in the room, Naruto-kun. The old man told, only to be proven wrong by a boy not even a quarter his age. No, there's a 6th one hiding in the shadow in the corner over there. Naruto pointed to the upper left corner, and a kunai shot out of the shadow. Within seconds the 5 other Umbu took down the interloper, and the third caught the kunai without effort, and was surprised when Naruto didn't even flinch when the kunai was inches from his face and was aimed at him. Looking carefully at the blue orbs that used to always shine with innocence and hope, but now were darkened with the look of a man who's seen just what the shinobi world is and had witnessed firsthand the horrors it can produce. He knew this wasn't the boy he knew. The third looked at the extra Umbu and immediately knew who he belonged to. Root. He growled before he barked his orders: take him to interrogation and make sure they bleed him dry of every last thing he knows. With that order the Umbu left the room. Iruka was surprised by what just happened before the third commented, okay Naruto-kun, what is it you want? And his question was cut off as Naruto made a hand sign and chakra entered the air and a privacy seal was set over the room. Both Iruka and Hiruzen were impressed at the quick application of such an advanced seal, with only one sign. Naruto-kun, what? The third was cut off again as a high-pitched whistle sounded throughout the room, temporarily hurting both the 2 men's ears. As chakra in the air vibrated, there was a small pop and smoke could be seen and smelled from several areas in the offices. Iruka and the third looked at Naruto questioningly. Sorry, listening devices and seals, The jutsu I used just now destroyed them using sound waves generated by vibrating chakra. It will also cause the person listening to go deaf in the ear they were listening with for a few days, so you can identify who was spying. Naruto explained much to the dumbstruck pair, and then he added, I'll teach it you, it's a useful jutsu and great security measure for a Kage. Okay, who are you and what have you done with Naruto-kun? The third asked, giving the boy in front of him cold threatening eyes and killer intent. Much to his respect and surprise, the person in front of him didn't even flinch, something that not even most veterans can achieve. Well, I am Naruto, the blonde boy said with a foxy grin and teasing voice, and right when the two men were to lose their temper, he finished, I'm just from 20 years in the future, Nanadame Hokage Naruto Uzumaki at your service. The prankster jumped on the desk and bowed. Both the Academy Sensei and Hokage stared dumbfounded at the boy in pajamas as he bowed. He just told them he was the future Hokage and Naruto Uzumaki from 20 years in the future, and with a straight face. The third was the first to recover. You honestly expect me to believe you're from the future? The third questioned the sanity of the person in front of him. Naruto just nodded and responded with a straight face, no, not at all. As a future Hokage, I know you can't just accept everything at face value, but I am more than willing to reveal information that only you, a Hokage or a person from the future, can know, but they are all SS class secrets. Naruto told the man as he gestured to Irika with his head. The third knew what he meant and that he wouldn't reveal what he knew unless it was okay for Irika to know. Okay, you may speak. The third said as he pulled out his pipe and lit it. After all, what can a crazy person possibly know? He thought as he took a puff of his pipe, blowing out some smoke. Alright then, I guess I should start off. I am Naruto Uzumaki, son of Kushina and Minato Namikaze. I was named after the character of my godfather Jiraiya's first and only good book, The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi Naruto. Naruto was enjoying the dazed expressions they made as their jaws drop. He was still a prankster at heart after all. I am the third Jinchuriki of Kyuubi no Yoko Kurama, who I inherited from my mother, who was the second Jinchuriki, who inherited the duty from her predecessor and first Jinchuriki, the wife of the Shodai Hokage Mito Uzumaki Senju. Irika seemed taken back at the information of there having been Jinchuriki before, looking confused that Naruto was also related to the two, which was going to be explained next. The reason only Uzumaki are chosen as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is because the special chakra and vitality our bloodline gives us lets us suppress his chakra and survive having him sealed inside of us, where anyone else would die. Naruto explained, and he grinned at the stunned looks the two adults were giving him, finishing with a proud smirk. This reminded him of the time when the few council members who refused to accept him after he literally saved the world found out who his parents were. The third wanted to believe what he just said and that he was Naruto from the future, but sadly anyone could figure out Naruto's identity and where his name came from if they asked the right people and questions, especially if they had a traitor in their midst. That's not enough, I'm afraid. The third started before Naruto cut him off because anyone could find that out with enough research and if they asked the right people. Naruto predicated exactly what he just thought and was going to say. I started off with that because it would get you to open up to me and listen more, as well as reveal that I know who my parents are, Naruto told him in a cheerful tone. Irika was in shell shock by what was just revealed to him, and the third didn't deny that Naruto was the fourth son and just sat back and listened. Though I would like to ask a question, when were you going to tell me who they were? Naruto glared at the third. He only found out who they were when he literally met his father and mother. The third shouldn't have answered and played the boy's game, but he already knew so much so it wouldn't hurt. I planned to tell him when he made Chunin and could handle the truth. The same with the fox, the third said. And did it ever occur to you that me or you might die? Or that I won't even become a ninja since the council were sabotaging me and removed the ARC course, abnormal reserves of chakra course, from the academy curriculum? Naruto told him, anger lacing his voice. Causing students like me who have too much chakra to fail, because we are unable to perform low-level E-rank jutsu that are designed for students with low chakra reserves so they can expend both their reserves and chakra control. Naruto snapped. When he became Hokage, he found out they conveniently discontinued the practice right when he joined the academy. Chakra control and reserves ratio theory is one of the first things we are taught. The amount of control a person has over their chakra is directly affected by their reserves, because it's easier to control smaller amounts of chakra when you have low chakra to begin with. The academy jutsu and curriculum were designed to teach students with the minimal and average chakra reserves, while steadily building their reserves and control up so they can perform the more advanced jutsu. Naruto pointed an accusing finger, finally releasing some of the anger he held for the third not doing his job properly when he was in office and how much it affected him as he grew up. The ARC course was put in place by the Shodai Hokage for students who have too much chakra to perform the low-level jutsu and control exercises, and are required to be taught high-level control exercises like tree climbing and water walking, before they can be taught at the same level as those with normal reserves. All students were supposed to have their chakra measured when they first entered the academy to see if they qualified for the course. Naruto shouted in outrage and was out breath, breathing heavily from doing so, but he was far from finished venting. Those bastards also took away the right to substitute the clone jutsu with any of its varieties with the excuse that it requires fine-tuned chakra control to do a normal clone, when it's impossible for me to separate and control that tiny drop of chakra when I have a planet-sized amount. I mean, I would have never been able to pass the exam the normal way. The worst part of all was that the academy teachers willingly let me take the exam when I wasn't ready so that I would fail and be kicked from the program for failing it 3 times the maximum number of times someone is allowed to take the stupid test. Naruto spat with venom. It wasn't until after he became Hokage and looked into changing the academy curriculum with his Haime's help that he found so many things that were wrong with the system. Hinata explained and helped him overhaul the whole thing so the mistakes of the past won't repeat. Naruto was breathing heavily now as he finished. He didn't realize he had so much anger and hate left inside after he found that out. It wasn't only him, but thousands of academy students were forced to be dropped from the program because of it, when they could have become some Konoha's best shinobi. Seeing the man who was partially responsible for it, even if he loved the man to bits as his grandfather, all those emotions and hate he never got a chance to direct to anyone were all released like a dam. Naruto was sweating and breathing heavily from his tantrum, and the third and Iruka were shocked at what he just said. It all makes sense now. Damn council, when I get my hands on them, they will. The third growled, and he promised to look through every single person and speak with all the people who are having trouble, or were dropped from the program personally. Iruka was having a much different reaction. What the fuck were you doing? Iruka shouted at the third, his shock from the previous conversation gone and rage taking its place. Naruto and Hiruzen were taken back by the usual subdued academy teacher's use of language. You're the bloody Hokage and you let the academy and council do this. Iruka was outraged by what was done. Naruto was his favorite student and he always wanted to help him, but was forbidden from doing as much as he wanted due to not being allowed to show favoritism. But most of all, he hated himself. Listening to everything Naruto said, he felt so ashamed. He knew the theory better than anyone and taught Naruto for years, yet never saw the obvious reason to why he was having trouble. Iruka fell to the floor in tears and apologized to Naruto. I'm sorry Naruto, I should have seen it. I taught the subjects you spoke about, and yet I never put 2 and 2 together of why you had so much trouble. I should have helped more. You were held back because I was a bad teacher, because the academy held you back. I'm so sorry. Iruka cried and Naruto felt his heart warm at the words. Iruka did the same thing in his timeline and was a big supporter in the changing of the academy system and became the principal after having become a jonin and learned shadow clone so he could give time to every student that needed it. Naruto let a few tears slip before he gave the same reply he gave his first sensei in his future. Iruka-sensei, you don't need to apologize. You were the only teacher that cared about me and helped me out in the first place. You have nothing to apologize for, and it was thanks to you I managed to become a ninja and eventually Hokage in the first place. All these years you've been like the father I've never had. You taught me not just how to be a ninja, but a better person and a man. I could never thank you enough for all you've done, and I will always be grateful to you. To me, you will always be my sensei who's always given it his all for his students. I know without a doubt that you will help me change the academy and be the best sensei there is, like I already know you to be, Naruto said with the wisdom of a Hokage, and both sensei and student looked in each other's eyes, and if it wasn't for the third's interruption they would have had a Guy and Lee moment. Sorry to interrupt the moment, and you have my thanks for bringing everything you said to my attention. But please understand I can't just take your word for it and believe you're from the future. Hiruzen begrudgingly told the two. True, he wanted to believe in them and give this Naruto his trust and cooperation. It was as if he was seeing the Hokage that the boy he saw as a grandson would become. He wished it was truly Naruto, knowing that both Minato and Kushina would be proud of him. But he has the village to protect, and as Hokage he needs to make the hard choices. He made too many mistakes, relying on Danzo to get his hands dirty instead of him too much. He needs to start making the decisions a Hokage should. Regardless what the outcome of the meeting is and whether the boy in front of him was who he said he is or not, as long Naruto was safe, he would make sure the person in front of him was safe. Because he made Hiruzen Sarutobi, the professor and God Shinobi, realize that he still had a lot to learn before he could be the Hokage Konohagakure no Sato needed him to be. He looked at the boy in front of him with the respect that he has only given to a few people who did their best for the village. Itachi and Shursui Uchiha were on that list. Hokage-sama, please believe him, this is way too elaborate to be a prank or some fake. I am willing to stake my life that this is the real Naruto. Iruka pleaded with his leader. The third looks onto his subordinate in sadness. He just couldn't take that risk with the village that he loves and after so many mistakes that he's done in order to keep it safe. It's alright, Iruka-sensei. If Jizan wasn't suspicious, he wouldn't be worthy to carry the hat. A Hokage needs to make hard choices for the village that he loves and keeps those he cherishes safe. Naruto spoke, his voice filled with wisdom beyond his age, as he entered Hokage mode again. The third Hokage wanted nothing more than to hand the hat over to the boy in front of him. He could see the eyes of a Kage on him and a will of fire that burned brighter than any he's seen before. There was almost no doubt in his mind that if this person was the real Naruto, then he would be the greatest Hokage there ever is or ever will be. The third gave a nod of respect to Naruto, a sign he wanted the boy to continue. Despite the situation Naruto was in, he was having a blast. One of the things he's always wanted was to earn his grandfather figure's respect and make him proud. But he passed before he got the chance to see the man he became. But now here he is, one of his biggest heroes, looking at him as an equal and with respect. He could tell that the third wants to believe him, and he admired the man even more for holding himself back from doing so. He may not have been the best Hokage, But he was definitely worthy of the job. He held the longest reign among the Hokage and led the village through 3 wars. It wouldn't have been exaggerated to say that the village only survived this long because of him. But there was one weakness the third had: he loved this village and those in it too much. He had difficulty making the harder choices and put too much faith in the wrong people. He never abused his power, and was almost afraid to use it at all. He was almost too qualified for the job, loving the village to the point that it could destroy itself. But when he hardened his heart and made the tough decisions, he was one of greatest Kage there was. To Naruto, who met all past Hokages, the third reminded him of a combination of the first and second Hokages. Naive, but also a realist, yet because of that he has trouble following through with his choices and is split between the 2 paths, wanting the best of both worlds. Naruto wanted nothing more than to fight the third and hoped he would get the chance one day. You remind me of both Shodai and Naidame Hokages, and I'm sure they're both proud of who you've become. Naruto smiled at the third and left him and Irika confused at the sudden statement. Hiruzen was happy about that. He had no idea how this Naruto knew his 2 predecessors, but he could tell that he meant his words and felt a burden on his shoulders be lifting at the thought of the 2 men he respected most approving of him. I thank you with the compliment, but we've gone off track. You still need to make me believe in your story. Hiruzen smiled at the 12-year-old Kage, and a look of understanding passed between the 2 Kage. I know, what I am about to tell you next should do it, since this should only be known to 6 people, including you. Naruto nodded and the third's brow raised at the statement, and his jaw dropped at what the boy said next. The Uchiha massacre was orchestrated by Danzo. He ordered, well, more like blackmailed Itachi to kill the clan, who were planning a coup d'etat, in exchange for his brother Sasuke being spared and not finding out the truth. You originally had Shisui and Itachi working to prevent the coup, and you agreed to let Shisui use his Kodo Amatsukami to stop the Uchiha leaders from making their move and calm the clan down. This plan was stopped when Danzo stole Shisui eye for his own use, and he was forced to commit suicide and give his remaining eye to Itachi. Danzo then convinced Itachi to take matters in his own hands so he could get more Sharingan for his own use, by killing off all clan members besides Sasuke. Naruto told them, revealing the biggest cover-up in the village's history. A lot of thoughts went through the third's head. He knew Danzo played too much of a big role in the massacre and Shisui's death, but had no proof. Nor did he know about the fact he had one of Shisui's eyes. It explains so much of how he's gained power over the years. The information should only be known to him and his advisors, plus Itachi. That's 5 people, but he said there was 6. Does that mean that there's another, or was he talking about himself? Either way, the only way he could know so much is if he was working with Itachi or Danzo or had a spy network greater than Jiraiya's ever was. Even he doesn't know the truth about Itachi and only sees him as faceless contact. The only of choice was if he was telling the truth, and since he told him that he knew about, he's not someone who wants to harm the village. Hiruzen had no choice but to put his faith in Naruto. From everything he said, the boy in front of him cared about the village and had an emotional investment in most topics he told them. Irika looked to the third for confirmation on what he just heard. Okay, I believe you, or I'm at least willing to trust you. I assumed chakra spike earlier was your doing. The third conceded and smiled as he asked the boy about the chaos that was happening today. Irika was relieved that the Hokage trusted Naruto. Yeah, sorry, at first assumed it was genjutsu or some other jutsu, so I tried to dispel it with a chakra pulse. Naruto said sheepishly as he scratched the back of his head. I see by what you said you probably came back by accident then? The third Hokage questioned, able to tell that Naruto actually didn't come back of his own free will then. Yeah, you see, in my time I was given half of the Sage of 6 Paths chakra and I sort of messed up and got sent back by accident, and I can't back to my time. Naruto explained. Both Irika and the third were taken back at the mention of a mythical person and that Naruto had some of his powers. Both were starting to think this discussion was more trouble than it's worth. Really? So the Sage of 6 Paths gave you half of his powers? Your story just keeps getting more unbelievable. The third sagged. Yeah, well, if I told you everything that happened in my timeline, you would think me more crazy than you already do. Believe me, impossible and unbelievable lost all meaning where I come from. Naruto told them, and after everything that was said, both the 2 adults really didn't want to know what else happened in the future. I'll take your word for it, so now what? Are you really stranded here and can't return to your own time? The darkening look in Naruto's eyes was all the confirmation he needed. Yes, I can travel through time, but the future I came from was destroyed by doing so I can never go back. Naruto deadpanned and both adults caught the sadness in his voice as he did. The third was about to question that logic when don't use a time paradox would occur. I said the same thing when Super Gramps, sorry, the Sage of 6 Paths told me. Naruto corrected and both shinobi were left speechless that he referred to the creator of ninjutsu like that. The sage told you? The third asked. Yeah, he said that time is like a river and not supposed to flow backwards, and since I possessed parts of his powers and was the one who traveled back, the laws of time don't apply to me anymore. Naruto told them, and like his nickname, the professor, the third had a rough idea what he meant. I see, so what are you planning to do now? The third asked the boy he sees as a grandson. I plan to live my life here and rebuild everything I lost. Naruto responded with determination and fire in his eyes. Very well, I don't suppose you can tell me about the future? The third asked, and Irika perked up as he did, who wouldn't be interested in the future. Both were curious what happened to them. Well, Naruto was stopped by the voice in his head. We don't want to change events too much, the less they know the better, keep what they know limited to events that are about to occur. Kurama spoke up. I can't tell you everything, since it could change what will happen more than it already is, so I will keep what I tell you about, to events that are coming up. Naruto spoke up, before he asked the question himself. Speaking of which, what's the date exactly? I don't know the exact time I traveled to is. Naruto asked. You just failed the graduation test for the second time. Iruka spoke up and had a tinge of resentment in his voice now that he knows about Naruto being set up to fail. I see, so I have 6 months before I become a genin. But if you don't change the rules back, I'll fail again for sure. Naruto expressed annoyed that even though he is technically a Kage, he could still fail to become genin. How did you pass before then? The third inquired, not understand that he could still pass if he can't make clones. Mizuki was a traitor when I failed. He came up and told me if I steal the forbidden scroll and learn a jutsu I could become a genin. I did and learned shadow clones which were perfect for me. Naruto revealed and Iruka took it hard. What, Mizuki? He wouldn't do that. Iruka tried to argue, but Naruto stopped him. He was planning to steal and give the scroll to Orochimaru. When you showed up, he told me about the Kyuubi and that it was sealed inside me. Naruto spoke up and the third continued. There was evidence in the past showing that Mizuki could have killed his comrades, but we ignored it due to his track record in the end and some pushing from Danzo. Hiruzen spoke up, to Iruka's surprise, having never heard of this before now. In which case I'll try and fix the academy graduation. If not, we will let Mizuki's situation play out as before, and then I can give you a field promotion and use the excuse that you learning shadow clones proves that Mizuki was sabotaging you. The third Hokage summarized before he ordered Iruka. Iruka, I know that he's your friend, but we can't let this slide. Keep a watch on him, but don't reveal your intentions. The third Hokage ordered. Yes, Hokage-sama. Iruka accepted, but felt bad that his best friend could be an enemy. The third looked at Naruto and then grinned. So the Nanadame? He asked. Yep, it took years and I had to wait until most of the council were dead and buried. But I did it, I became Hokage. Naruto jumped as he proclaimed he achieved his dream. I don't suppose I could convince you to take the hat now, could I? Hiruzen laughed at the face Naruto made at the idea. No way in hell, I escaped the paperwork and have no intentions of being chained down by it again so soon. Naruto practically screamed, causing Iruka and the third to laugh. Ha ha ha, I never thought of the day you would say no to being Hokage. Iruka laughed before the third chimed in. I understand. The blasted paperwork is literally a never-ending hell on earth. Sarutobi glared at said paperwork and Naruto joined in. Any Kage would be able to tell they were trying to set the damn thing on fire. Yeah, well, I will take the role again, but I have some more pressing matters to attend to before I do. Naruto grinned as told them. Oh really, what can be more important than being Hokage? The third asked and Iruka looked at Naruto expectantly. Living my life. I love the village, but after I became Hokage, I wasn't able to live my life like I wanted anymore, and it caused a lot of problems. Naruto told them, a look of regret in his eyes. So sorry, old man, but I don't plan to become Hokage for a long, long time. Naruto told them. The third looked at the boy and understood. I understand being a Kage is a full-time job and doesn't give you much free time for other matters. Have any idea who should succeed me then? I don't want to stay in this chair until you're ready to take my place. Tsunade Bachan for Godame and Kakashi for Rokudame. By the time I'm ready they should have cleaned up the council and I'll be free to take over in peace. I swear some of the old farts just wouldn't let up no matter what I did. The village almost went into civil war because they wouldn't make me Kage. Naruto waved his arms in protest. Tsunade and Kakashi, I would have never expected them as Hokage, but I'm sure they did a good job and it's nice hearing Tsunade came back. The third had a faraway look in his eyes. It wasn't easy, but I'll tell when we get her to take the seat again. Naruto told him, before he got a serious look on his face. Now I want to ask something. Why is it I never learned about the Uzumaki clan at the academy? He asked with a hint of resentment. When he found out how close the village was to his clan, he felt insulted that it was never taught, and his clan just erased. The third was surprised and angry at what the question could mean. What do you mean? The academy should have explained all of Uzumaki history and our relation with Yuzushiogakure. Actually, Hokage-sama, the information about Yuzushiogakure was wiped from the curriculum after the Kyuubi attack. I remembered that our sensei just stopped teaching it, and it's no longer on the list of what we should teach. Iruka spoke up, surprised to find out Naruto had a clan related to Konoha's longtime ally Yuzushiogakure. Killer intent filled the room. What? How dare they break the treaty we had with them? Iruka, I will provide you with all the material to teach it and help you teach the class. This is an outrage. The council has gone too far. The third roared. Konoha owned more to Uzumaki and Yuzushiogakure than anyone else, and the first Hokage himself would dismantle the village if he ever found out what they did to his relatives. Not to mention the other two Kage and two Uzumaki they were close to. He looked at Naruto sadly and realized just how much he missed about his family. Naruto-kun, I'll hand over everything we have on your clan and let you to live in the Uzumaki compound. The third told the boy he failed. He planned for Naruto to learn about his clan, and only now he realized just how bad it was and why he was so desperate to know his family before. Wait, Uzumaki compound? Naruto questioned, having never heard about it before now. Don't you know it? He asked, a hint of suspicion. How could he not know about the place the Uzumaki owned? I know about the Uzumaki clan's mask storage temple on the outskirts of the village, but by the time I started looking for more about my clan it was lost or destroyed. Naruto spoke. It was a sore spot with him that his clan was basically erased from history. The third pondered this. Before he asked, was there ever a major attack on the village? The look Naruto gave and how he masked his emotions provided his answer. I see, the Uzumaki compound has seals that make it impossible to find if you don't know where to look, and it's so old that it would have been forgotten about. If the seals were activated from an attack, then the compound would have been hidden from normal people and all knowledge it had protected. The third stated and was happy when Naruto smiled and got excited. Seeing the boy act his age warmed his heart, knowing that Naruto never completely changed from the boy he knew. You mean I can learn about my clan? Naruto asked with hope, and the third thought. Yes, and not just you, but everyone will. Sarutobi thought, not letting the slight against Uzumaki go on anymore. No one has sacrificed more for this villager than the Uzumaki. Their whole country was destroyed because of it, in the end. The old man thought, memories of the land of Whirlpool's last stand and just how much of an effect it had on the war. Yes, the record would have been kept safe and all the Jutsu Mido and your parent left would be in there. The third told him. Hell yeah! Naruto shouted as he jumped and landed on his but still not used to difference between his new and old body. Finally, he would find out about his family, about his clan. Now if there is no more to discuss, you are. The third was stopped before he could finish and dismiss the meeting. Wait. Orochimaru plans to attack during the Chunin exams finals. We should start preparing now. Naruto said. At the mention of his old student, the third's eyes hardened. Naruto wanted to tell him about how Orochimaru was sort of a good guy in his time, but it wasn't time yet for that. Thank you for the warning. Anything else? The third said in a somber voice. Nope, that's it for now. I'll say more after I graduate. Naruto saluted. Okay, then you two need to get to the academy. Naruto, come by tomorrow and I'll show you the compound. The third told the boy, and Naruto's eyes shone with excitement. Okay, I'll see you. Naruto ran out the room, but he rushed back and said one more thing. Oh, and use shadow clones to do paperwork and train some more and get back into shape. As Naruto said those words, the third's head hit the desk and he ran off smiling, a fox-like grin on his face. Damn you, Minato, that was your secret. Why didn't you tell me? Hiruzen kept banging his head on the desk again and again, as muttered curses to his predecessor for keeping the secret to defeating paperwork to himself. Before Iruka could follow, the Hokage ordered him, his head still hiding the desk as he did. Iruka, keep an eye on him. Iruka looked back at his leader. You still don't believe him? He questioned. Hiruzen stopped hitting his desk and answered, no, I believe him, but Naruto-kun is hiding some things from us, and even though I trust him, I can tell that he was burdened by something big. Truth is, I had many more questions, but they will have to wait. It looks like the day has taken quite a toll on Naruto-kun already. Iruka, everything Naruto mentioned is a triple S rank secret, and you can't mention it at all. Is that understood? Iruka nodded as he left the room after Naruto. So many revelations revealed already, and he just knew a lot more would happen with his student by the end of the day. Hiruzen watched as the teacher left like order and breathed a deep sigh. He knew he made a lot of mistakes during his time as Hokage, but the revelation of how much Danzo and his old teammates went behind his back shocked him. Getting his pipe left on his desk, he gets ready to fix some of his mistakes. He wasn't going to let his feelings for his old friends let him keep turning a blind eye anymore. If what Naruto said was true, then he had a lot of work to do. After all, not many got a second chance to fix his old mistakes. Naruto was standing outside the doorway of his old classroom. Everything was the same as before he graduated. He stood frozen, his outstretched hand hovering just above the door. Feeling so many emotions, he didn't know what to do. Fear, excitement, joy. All of these overwhelmed him. Why was he so troubled, you may ask? Simple. Because behind this door will be all his younger friends, but more importantly, the person he's been longing to see more than anyone else. His wife Hinata Uzumaki. Except his Haim was no longer his wife or an Uzumaki anymore, and it scared him. It scared him that she was no longer his, that she didn't have any right to be with him. Sure, his Haim reassured him about her eternal love again and again, but the approaching meeting with her now that she wasn't his wife anymore terrified him. What if she doesn't love me yet? Went through his head. He knew without a doubt his Haim was his soulmate, his other half, and the only one for him. His true love. He knew if she didn't accept him, if she didn't give him her love, his life would have been empty. Even if he became Hokage, fulfilling his dream would have been hollow, because he would have lacked the one thing he always wanted, someone who loves him with all their heart, someone who he could give himself wholly without fear. His eyes closed in remembrance as, the second time, his heart was utterly broken. When Tonari stole his wife away from him, how she willingly went with him as she apologized, because she rejected his love. He was too hurt and shattered to see the turmoil and hurt in her eyes at the time. How she didn't want to hurt him, how she only wanted to save her sister. He almost lost his beloved, right after he was finally able to figure out his true feelings. He vowed it would never let her go again, that he would remain by her side together, that he would never let go of her hand. He took another breath, and the first and most horrifying time of his life flashed before his eyes. The time when his wife almost died before he even realized her feelings, before he realized how much the first time she told him she loved him meant. He saw her fighting pain with all her heart, risking her life to protect him. She was the only person who came to help him back then, and he had been filled both overwhelming joy and sorrow. As the image of pain delivering the finishing blow, a lone tear fall as he re-experienced the pain of believing his Haim had died to protect him. He lost his anger and gave himself over to the hatred he felt, and fully allowed the pre-reformed Kurama to take control. If Hinata had died, he would have truly been lost. He wouldn't have been able to keep smiling and would have broken when Obito killed his comrades in the war. His hand finally touched the door it was hovering by. It may not be his wife in there, but she was still the woman he fell in love with. Their love has gone through many trials and they have always come through closer and stronger. Even if she didn't love him, he would still love her and make her his once more. He was still scared though. He wanted to be with his family, to hug his wife, to kiss her. But he couldn't, at least not yet. But one day we will have our family back in Nataheim. With determination, Naruto slid open the door, ready to face his latest trial. The world froze for a second, his eyes landing on his young Haim in seconds. His azure orbs met her lavender moons. Time went by slowly as the star-crossed lovers met once more, their love for one another overcoming even time and space. He watched mesmerized as she went through the stages of love sickness just from his stare alone. She was adorable to him, rose covering her cheeks, and her eyes sparkled at him in love and adoration. Her soft pale skin seemed to glow as her hands came together. Her silky midnight blue hair was short, yet it still made her beautiful, and he still desired to run his hand through it. He was entranced as she looked away in embarrassment, an action she never outgrew, and he was happy she didn't. He loved her, all of her, the brave and determined tigress that would fight for her loved ones, as well as seduce and play with him, to the shy kitten she would become at a moment's notice because of him. He loved all of her, every aspect of her, and though he knew she doesn't like her shy side, he never wanted to lose it, because it would mean losing a part of the woman he loves. Wow, how could I have been so ignorant? She's beautiful. He couldn't understand how his younger self could ignore such a goddess. She was beauty incarnate in his eyes, yet despite her feelings, despite how amazing and beautiful she is, he never once looked her way. Sure, he always thought she was cute, but he never bothered to really look to see how beautiful she was inside and out. But now he was no longer his ignorant self. Sure, he may still be dense sometimes, but his Haim radiated beauty that would make her the envy of others and the desire of many. She could have had any man she wanted, yet she chose him. His heart felt warm at the knowledge of this, that she chooses him above all others, because she truly loves him. He regretted not getting with her sooner, he regretted not being with her all those years, for missing out on so much, especially when he looked back to how adorable her younger self was. He missed never spending time with younger Hinata-chan. Sure, his Haim was a goddess and adorable, and he loved her, but to him her younger self was the cutest she ever was. She may have been much more beautiful when she was older, but that was a different charm from the Haim before him now. And he counted himself lucky that he got the chance to experience the sides of his Haim he never got the chance to before. A chance to not miss out on being with his soulmate when she was younger. The two future lovers just stared in each other's eyes, shyly ignorant to the rest of the world. Hey look, the idiot forgot to get change out of his pajamas. And look at them, they're all wrecked. The loser probably can't even afford real clothes in the first place. Maybe that's why he's always in that horrible orange jumpsuit. The harsh words came from one Sakura Haruno, the person who was like a sister to him in his past life. Looking down in horror, he saw she was right. He was still in the pajamas he wore this morning, damaged from earlier. Red tinted his face as he became the laughing stock of the class. Hurt covered his features as he looked at his future pink-haired teammate, and he remembered what she was like before they became Team 7. To put it simply, she was a bitch. He may love her like family, but now he could clearly see it without his desperation for attention or attempting to one-up Sasuke weren't blinding him anymore. But it wasn't just Sakura. His eyes surveyed the room. All his friends, Shikamaru, Choji, Ino and Kiba were all laughing. Heck, even Sasuke, Temi and Shino had small smirks. And another realization hit him hard, for in this time, they weren't his friends, or at least nowhere near what they became. Sakura was a bitch and fangirl that doesn't care about anything or anyone else, but Sasuke, he was going to have a hell of a time changing her back into the young woman and dependable shinobi she became in his time. Shikamaru and Choji were both laughing at his expense. Sure, they were still technically friends in this time too, but they didn't respect him at all. It was also quite highly they let him hang out with them more out of pity than actual friendship now that he thought back to it. After all, they never invited him over to their house or parties. They also always refused his invites to his house. That one year he grew brave enough to attempt to throw his own birthday party. His eyes landed on Ino, who was also laughing. They were never friends at the academy, but she was one of the ones that least changed as they grew up. Sure, she's a fangirl, but if he remembers right, Ino always had a soft side, and if her and Sakura never broke off their friendship to start a rivalry over Sasuke, she would have been one of the more tolerable members of his old class. She also understood that Sasuke wasn't everything, even if she still throws herself at him, she was dependable when they became genin. Next was Kiba. He was like Shikamaru and Choji, someone who Naruto befriended somewhat at the academy, but had zero respect and only saw him as a fool that would never become Hokage and should stop trying. He remembered how during their academy and genin days Kiba was quite arrogant until he beat some sense and respect into him at the Chunin exams. Knowing him, he'll have to do that again to get him to back off. Kiba even admitted himself that until he lost, he didn't see Naruto as nothing more than an Omega, but after that he started to respect him, and Kiba becoming Hokage was a joke between the two as rivals instead of an insult to Naruto's abilities. Then there was Shino, and sure, he didn't respect him either, but he would come around easily since he lets logic guide him and would be among the first to see he was wrong. He still wasn't a friend, though he could count on the bug user to have his back and treat him as an equal. It would also let Naruto finally earn forgiveness for forgetting about him so many times and not inviting him, though it was impossible at the time, to the Sasuke retrieval mission. Finally, was Naruto's most precious person, Hinata. Hyuga had hurt him so much that she no longer had Uzumaki to her name, but he would hopefully change that. She was a breath of fresh. Even though she wasn't as brave as in the future, he could count on Hinata to always be Hinata. He knew that she would never really change on the inside, still being that shy, but brave at heart girl she's always been. However, as his thoughts went back to his love, he realized something in shock as he looked down, tuning out any more of Sakura's insults. "Oh Kami, I'm in my pajamas in front of Hinata." Sure, in the future, Hinata had seen him with and without his PJs on, but still, her seeing him now was so embarrassing, and what was worse, they had all tears in them and were coming apart. "Ah man, what will I do? Hinata is a princess, she wouldn't want to be with a guy who looks like he came right out of the gutter." His fears were unfounded, but being seen like that by the one you love is embarrassing. His worries were unfounded, however, since Hinata loves him both inside and out, including the sweet fool he could be sometimes, and was having a much different reaction. "Oh Kami-sama, Naruto-kun is almost." She was at first worried when her crush came in with torn clothes. But when she realized how cute he was in pajamas, her mind began to wander. She quickly wiped her nose after getting too excited. She could clearly see her beloved's already developed muscles, and unlike the time she accidentally saw him with the Byakugan, they were in color. Naruto quickly fled the classroom, not wanting to make a fool of himself any further in front of his one true love. However, he was stopped as a hand grabbed him by the collar, and still unable to move 100%, he was easily held in place as Iruka brought him back into the room. "Why, Naruto, leaving so soon?" Iruka taunted as he held the squirming boy in the air. Glaring at his teacher, the boy shouted, "Come on Iruka-sensei, I need to get changed into some real clothes." Iruka only smiled as he responded, "Sorry Naruto, but class has been delayed long enough already. Please take your seat so we can catch up on lost time," Iruka said, an almost evil grin plastered on his face as he told the time traveler to sit down. "This for all the pranks I did growing up, isn't it?" he asked mentally, with a pout and glare to Iruka. Yes, it is." Iruka smiled, reading the boy's mind. It was a golden opportunity to get back at his little knucklehead, and he was going to savor it. Naruto begrudgingly made his way to his seat. It would do no good to make a scene now, and he could always get his sensei back later. Iruka and most of the class watched in half shock as Naruto passed the empty seat beside Sakura without so much as a glance. As Naruto made his way to his seat, his heart started hammering, as each step brought him closer to his beloved Heim. He forgot all about his plan on not making a scene. He needed to be near his Heim once more. Hinata watched as the love of her life passed his well-known crush and made his way to her. "Oh Kami, is he going to?" She didn't get to finish her thoughts as what she swore was a voice of an angel met her ears. "Hinata-chan, may I sit next to you?" Naruto stuttered out, mentally hitting himself as his tenant had a fit. He was bloody Hokage, hero to the world, the child of prophecy, and talking to his future wife makes him lose his nerve. The class jaw dropped as Naruto acted well, like Hinata, as he asked to sit next her. Sakura felt a twinge of jealousy and inferiority as the boy, until yesterday, was chasing her like a lost puppy, was now stuttering and blushing because of Hinata, of all people. "The loser is probably only trying to make me jealous anyway," she told herself. She liked the power trip she got whenever Naruto came back for more when she rejected him. How it made her look desirable, even though her beloved Sasuke-kun ignored her, as if she didn't exist. Hinata could only nod yes, like a bobblehead, as she tried not to faint. Her Naruto-kun gave her a dazzling smile as he took his sit next to her of all people. He glanced at her shyly as he said something that sent her heart soaring. "Why, you're really cute." Her crush blurted out, and she struggled with all her might not to faint as she looked away. Naruto had the same reaction to having realized what he was saying, the emotions he was feeling after everything that has happened overwhelming him. Iruka smiled as this gave him a very good hint on the future the boy came from. "I'm happy that you two managed to find each other." He went on to start his lecture, Hinata and Naruto failing at trying to hide the glances they were sending each other. In the Hokage office, Hiruzen eyed his old teammates and rival Danzo. He was going to finally put down the law here and now. "I'm sure you're all wondering why I called you here," he stated indifferently. "Yes, I assume it's to deal with the surge of chakra that Uzumaki was the source of earlier," Koharu stated. We should take measures to ensure the Jinchuriki is controlled and tell me, where did that information come from? The Sandaime Hokage asked. Our sources have told us that the chakra spike originated from Uzumaki-san's apartment, which is now partly destroyed. Hamura replied, causing Hiruzen to mentally remind himself to give his umbu a sweep through before anything else leaks. We should quarantine the Jinchuriki. He seems to have started experimenting with the power he holds. Measures must be taken to ensure he can properly control himself. Danzo spoke, the war hawk already planning to use this for his gain. All 3 council members start to leave. And where do you think you are going? We are not done yet, he barked out, causing his 3 old friends to look at him in surprise. They thought for sure Hiruzen would agree this time. Even he couldn't deny their Jinchuriki discovering his powers this early, and being left to his own devices was asking for trouble. And what would that be, Hiruzen? Danzo asked and backed away as his old rival gave him a serious glare. I am your Hokage, Danzo, don't forget that, he threatened. And the war hawk backed off as he bowed. Forgive me, Hokage-sama, he said with fake serenity. Hiruzen brought out a document that caused all 3 elders to start sweating, well, more like looking slightly unnerved in Danzo's case. In Hiruzen's hands was a document to suspend the arc course signed by the Hokage and Fire Daimyo themselves. They all knew the risk of what they did, but they never thought their old fool of teammate would actually look back and find that document. It seems someone has been using both mine and the Fire Daimyo's name to sabotage our academy students. Iruka finally finished his boring lecture, something which Naruto put to good use, and by good use, he spent the entire lecture glancing at the fair girl next to him, who more than willingly shared his glances. It seemed by coincidence, both Naruto and Hinata would glance at each other at the exact same time. However, it also both ended up with them looking away to an embarrassment. They all broke for lunch. Grrrr. Sound came from Naruto, who blushed as he put a hand to his stomach. Man, I'm hungry, he exclaimed, only to sigh the next minute. Too bad, forgot to bring any lunch. Hinata blushed as she looked at her crush. And Naruto-kun, why you could share my lunch? She stuttered, almost pleading as she said it. Naruto looked at her in awe, his blue orbs sparkling with joy and a strong adoration. Really? That would be great. I'm sure your food will be amazing, he told her, causing the girl to fiddle with her fingers again. Both Naruto and Hinata decided to eat their food at one of the places outside, where they could eat in peace under the sun. To Hinata it was almost like one of her dream dates, where would Naruto ask her out to a picnic. Meanwhile, Ino was trying to gossip with her former best friend. Come on, forehead, don't tell me you're not interested in Hinata and Naruto becoming a couple? She asked as she tried to convince her former friend to spy on the budding couple. Why bother? That idiot is only trying to make me jealous, Sakura stated, believed that was more likely than Naruto realizing she wasn't worth chasing. I don't think so. I mean, the way he looks at Hinata is completely different than the way he looks at anyone else. And did you see the way he acted? It's obvious Naruto's got it bad for her. Ino responded, remembering how cute they were. I'm happy. Hinata has been in love with him forever. Aren't you happy Naruto isn't chasing you anymore? Ino asked. After all, Hinata was a nice girl, shy, but nice, and deserved happiness, and even though Naruto the dead last and a loser, the young girl's affection for the blonde was obvious. Sakura just huffed at her rival's response. Pissed as if. Just watch, that Baka will be following me around like a lost puppy again by the end of the week. Ino looked at Sakura and then a glint in her eyes appeared. Oh, I see you're jealous that Naruto is giving all his attention to Hinata now. Well, don't worry, just leave Sasuke-kun to me and you keep your filthy paws off my Sasuke-kun. Why would I be jealous of Hinata getting that loser? They're both failures and deserve each other. Sakura screeched at the audacity. Ino had to try and steal her Sasuke-kun even more so that she would imply that she's jealous over Naruto's new so-called interest. Sheesh, don't have to have a fit forehead. I was only happy for Hinata and trying to be friendly. Ino ran off, small tears in her eyes. She hated that Sakura ruined their friendship for Sasuke. She could at least be nicer about it. That Ino pig trying to steal Sasuke-kun. Her inner voice bellowed. I'm not jealous of Hinata. You'll see, Naruto will be running back to me like always, she told herself. But she had her doubts since Naruto now showed zero interest. She started to worry about herself as a woman. You'll see, I only need Sasuke-kun and no one else. After all, who could resist me? I'm beautiful. Her hand absently touched her forehead. I am. You'll see who could resist my charms. The Baka will be back to following me any day now. Back with Hinata and Naruto. Hinata present Naruto with an orange bento, and Naruto smiled. But what about you? You need to eat too. Hinata blushed as she played with her fingers once more. I have another lunch, she told him. Oh really? Naruto looked at her accusingly, causing Hinata to get nervous under his scrutiny. Yes, she squeaked, pulling out another bento that was purple. Wow, you do have another one, but why? I mean, if this is meant for someone else, I can't eat it, he teased, knowing his Hein would make him lunches quite a lot in hopes of giving him them during their academy days. I just made too much, so she half-heartedly stuttered. It was a poor excuse, but she couldn't tell him she made it especially for him. He would think I'm weird if I did that. Well, it's lucky for me that you did. Now I get to have your wonderful home-cooked meal. Naruto praised, watching as another adorable blush made its way onto his Hime's face. It's fun teasing her. I better enjoy it while I can before she learns to tease me back like old times. His eyes briefly darkened with thoughts of his lost future and family. I'll get it back no matter what. He instantly smiled and tired his Hime's cooking. He was disappointed when he didn't see the Naruto-shaped rice balls his Hime loved to make. He quickly took some of his food into his mouth. As it touched his taste buds, it seemed like it melted in his mouth. His beloved was a wonderful cook. Man, Hinata Hime sure is an amazing cook. I can't wait, she's only going to get better when she grows up too. Hinata-chan, this is amazing. You'll surely make an amazing wife one day. He praised, causing Hinata to blush like the first time he said it to her on a mission. And mother, he mentally added, knowing firsthand that Hinata will become an amazing woman overall. Hinata was delighted and imaged herself as her Naruto-kun's wife, but she was ignorant to the dark look that appeared for a moment. It was for a second, but after years of watching him put his mask up and down at a moment's notice, she became quite adept at seeing the sides of him he tries to hide. What are you hiding, Naruto-kun? She wanted to enjoy the moment, but she couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. Naruto-kun's eyes were different, they were a deeper shade than usual. Back to the Hokage office. Koharu, Hamura and Danzo eyed the old document they were very familiar with. It seems someone has forged both mine and the Fire Daimyo's signatures, and yet your signatures are genuine. Hiruzen gave them all an accusing glare. We can explain. Koharu stuttered, and worried they could be in big trouble for this. Oh really, you have a good reason for committing high treason and preventing thousands of potential ninjas their chance to join our ranks. Hiruzen stated coldly, causing his two old teammates to flinch. Hiruzen, we need to keep him weak and controllable. Koharu stated, and the Hokage immediately knew who him was. And why would preventing Naruto from becoming a ninja make him controllable? He asked harshly, fury in his eyes. Because it made him dependent on the village. Danzo spoke up. Although shaken from the revelation, it seemed the old war hawk was prepared for the off chance this occurred. Naruto is not a weapon! The Sandaime Hokage shouted. You are wrong, Hokage-sama. Jinchuriki are nothing but weapons that need to be kept on a tight leash. The war hawk and Professor views clash once more, and sabotaging him made him more likely to betray us if he found out. Hiruzen snapped back. Danzo looked at his rival with a small shake of no as he told him about their plan. If we allowed the course to continue, the boy would have grown strong enough to fight back when the villager persecuted him. He would have been able to defend himself, you mean? Hiruzen interrupted. And tell me, do you honestly think the boy would stop there? He would have become a danger to the village if he grew too strong too quickly and opted to leave rather than stay and be what we need him. Danzo eyed his friend. You mean a mindless tool like your drones, like the one that you had spying in my office earlier? The Hokage accused. I assure you, Hokage-sama, I have no part in that. My root program was unfortunately dismantled as ordered. He lied, they could all see it, but he wasn't called the Shinobi of Darkness for nothing. He hid his tracks well. The agent caught earlier was killed by suicide seal seconds before interrogation. Be that as it may, the agent wouldn't have gotten this far without help. Back to business, your actions could have caused disastrous results. He got back to point. If Naruto learned this when he was young and left, then he could have turned the Kyuubi against them, and without an Uzumaki they wouldn't be able to seal it away a fourth time. I beg to differ. By removing the program, the Jinchuriki was forced to become reliant on the village despite its ill treatment of him. This served to keep him chained down because he lacked the ability to leave and survive on his own in the ninja world, as well as unable to escape us if he tired. It was true, any thoughts of Naruto leaving would have been hopeless, since even though he could survive in the village on his own, the outside world was a different place altogether. He remained ignorant to the other villagers and had no place to go. They could have easily captured an unskilled Jinchuriki when he had no skills or anywhere to go. Once more, since we succeeded in confining him to the village, he's developed a need to be acknowledged, since it's the only way his treatment would improve. This ensures his loyalty, and we can keep a close eye on him, monitoring his abilities so he remains within our control. He would be a strong asset, yet weak enough that he won't get any ideas of betraying us. Danzo finished. It was a good plan. Naruto did just as he predicted. He became loyal to the village second to none, and never left despite any hard feelings he had for the place. Be that as it may, why remove the substitution of the clone jutsu which would prevent Naruto from becoming a ninja in the first place? Hiruzen asked. Even if Naruto was a Jinchuriki, he would need to get official training somehow. You have nothing to worry about. We knew that he would never be able to do normal clones and planned to give him shadow clones after he failed gradation with the rest of his age group. With the village leaders helping him, he would have developed a strong sense of loyalty and believe we are on his side and earning his trust, was the War Hawk's response, and the other council members nodded in agreement. However, something else clicked with Hiruzen, and he made a note to bring it up with Naruto. Either way, I am reinstating the program immediately. Koharu and Hamura looked ready to argue. Do I need to remind of the crime you committed with this stunt, and do I need to get the Fire Daimyo involved? Both shut up after that. No need, we will allow the reinstatement of the program, Danzo stated, causing the others to back off. It affected his plans a bit, but he could still make do with the current state of the Jinchuriki. He would use his right eye to win the daimyo over, but he couldn't let Hiruzen catch on to the fact he had it. Not only that, but the ninja are too loyal to Hiruzen for me to take control now, and a civil war would be disastrous with what will be coming in a few months. Hiruzen was having similar thoughts. This would have been the big chance to get rid of Danzo once and for all, but with Shusuei in his possession, he would be able to easily turn the daimyo to his side, and with Orochimaru planning an invasion, we can't risk civil war with what's left of Root. Both leaders of their respective factions were at an impasse, opportunities lost for the greater good. If that was all, then we will take our leave, Kohara stated, but was stopped once more. No, there is one more thing to discuss. Why was the Uzumaki and Yuzushiogakyu removed from the academy curriculum when they were both key figures in the village's founding? The three elders before him began once more sweating, knowing this would be harder to deal with. That speaks for itself. The Uzumaki were masters of sealing jutsu. If the Jinchuriki begin meddling with his seal, it would be a catastrophe. Not only that, but if he thought he had family, he would most likely leave to look for them. Danzo shouted. He could live with the Jinchuriki getting extra training this late in the game, but if the boy discovered his heritage, it would ruin his plans. Not to mention, after the war, those who suffered major losses to the land of Whirlpool still hold grudges against the Uzumaki, and would most likely target Konoha if we showed open support. Hamura was the one to speak this time. And it didn't occur to you that you were desecrating the memory of a village that was all but destroyed aiding us, or the fact that our sensei was related to them. Hiruzen snapped. The Uzumaki and their village was their greatest ally since the village founding, so much so that their clan symbol was incorporated into the village's official uniform and symbol. I'm sure Tobirama-sensei would have agreed. After all, the village always comes first was the very first lesson he taught us. Hiruzen glared in disgust at Danzo as he spoke of their deceased master, as he tried to twist the man's words around for his own benefit. Either way, did you even consider what could have happened had Naruto found? Hiruzen roared, but the advisors were completely unaffected by it since they never intended for the boy to learn about his heritage. I will also be adding the Uzumaki clan back into the academy curriculum, and Naruto will receive the clan compound and inheritance left by the clan, the Hokage said with finality, causing an outrage with the elders. Are you insane? If that boy finds out about his clan, he could turn against us along with the Kyuubi, Koharu screeched. It was foolish. It was like giving the fox the key to his cage. The Yandame-sama seal was based off the Uzumaki clans. It would be easy to open it with the original documents. Hiruzen, have you gone senile? Even you should be able to see what would happen if the boy found about his heritage. Danzo tried to reason. He couldn't let the boy find out, not when he spent years ensuring he would never find out. You will address me as Hokage-sama, and sadly, you are too late. Naruto has already learned about his heritage and clan. The Hokage smirked as the elders went still at the new revelation and the impact it would have. What were you thinking telling him? Shouted the two elders while Danzo silently gripped his cane, in anger. If the brat knows, making him the weapon he needs to be will be harder. The amount of work Danzo had to make the power of the Kyuubi was increased a lot now that the boy knew. It wouldn't be impossible, but he would need to make drastic changes to his original plan to compensate. Silence! The Hokage roared, shutting the two elders up. For your information, Naruto discovered it on his own, since you obviously didn't hide it as well as you thought you did. Regardless, there will be a council meeting with the ninja clans tomorrow to officially instate the Uzumaki as a clan of Konohagakure. The elders were going to argue, before they were dismissed. Dismissed. Hiruzen's voice boomed throughout the office, commending them to finish and save the discussion for tomorrow. The elders all left, dissatisfied. In a matter of minutes their power and plans were dismissed, and they lost a great amount of influence. Back at Academy, the day was finally over, and Hinata could honestly say it was one of the best days of her life. Her Naruto sat, talked, and ate with her. She should have been on cloud 9. But several things ruined the moment. Naruto looked at his Haim. Hey Hinata-chan, want to get some ramen with me? I know where we can find the best in the world. Naruto invited his Haim on an unofficial date, but was surprised when Hinata bolted out her seat and through the door as soon as class was dismissed. Naruto quickly jumped up and followed as best he could in his current state. He still had yet to get used to the difference in size of his younger self compared to his old body. Luckily, Hinata didn't get far, easily catching up to her as she ran away from him. Grabbing her arm, Naruto shouted, Hinata-chan, what's wrong? Concern lacing his voice, thinking that her family was the source of her distress, knowing full well they treated his Haim terribly before the Chunin exams. However, that was not the cause, as Hinata turned around and did something he never thought she would. Before Naruto knew it, he was coughing on the floor, having received a gentle fist strike to his stomach. Looking up weakly, his heart broke as he saw the teary face of his beloved crying, her Byakugan active and filled with pure fury. You are what's wrong? You big fake, how dare you transform and imitate my Naruto-kun? She bellowed in outrage. It couldn't have been her Naruto-kun. Sure, there were some similarities, but as someone who watched him for many years, Hinata could see all the inconsistencies that built up as the day went by. It crushed her that the person she was talking to wasn't her beloved, but more than that she was furious at the fact it took her so long to notice, and most of all pissed at the phony that was playing with her feelings. Her Byakugan glare would have made her father proud for the first time, as she truly gave a death glare befitting a Hyuga. Naruto's heart screamed out as her words hit, Once more he felt like killing his younger self for ignoring his Heim for so long. It was no surprise she wouldn't believe him when until this morning he barely even knew she existed. He was belittling himself. He knew he needed to take it slow and keep a low profile, but desperate for comfort in this new world he couldn't stop himself from approaching his only source of it, and stability. His Heim was the only one he could go for comfort and love he never had in his past life, and even though this Hinata was so similar, he was once again reminded that this wasn't the same woman he married and had 2 children with. Though they were still the same person, she didn't have the memories he had of another life together. But now he was paying for his lack of restraint as his worst nightmare came true a second time. His Heim, the light of his life, was rejecting him. Hinata-chan, wait. I really am Naruto, I swear. He pleaded, but they landed on deaf ears as Hinata slapped him across the face. But this wasn't the same as when she gave him a gentle slap to knock sense into him when he was being stupid. No, this was far worse. It was slap filled with anger, and something he never thought his Heim would look at him with. Loathing. Naruto recoiled from the blow. Hinata was breathing heavily, her shyness disabled by the sheer anger and hurt having her heart and pure love messed with caused. Don't you dare say another word. My Naruto-kun would never do the things that you did. He would never ignore Sakura. He would never talk with me, let alone eat with me. But most importantly, he would never call me Hinata-chan. Each of her declarations was like an arrow to his heart because it was all true. Naruto wanted to cry for his beloved. Hinata-chan, I'm so sorry. But Hinata wasn't through. There was still a tone of anger left, and her final words left Naruto broken once more. Naruto-kun doesn't even know I exist, she shouted before leaving the broken boy alone. Naruto came back in time to see his Heim leave, calling out to her, trying to stop her and fix the situation. Hinata-chan! But his Heim kept running away from him. All he could do was watch, tears in his eyes. His heart and spirit broken once more. Naruto was walking back to his old apartment, well, more like staggering back. He was in a daze as he walked through the village, being reminded that he was no longer in the village that he came to truly love and call home. The villagers glared at him and gossiped behind his back, the respect he spent years building gone. It hurt so much, being back in the darkest time of his life, no friends to take away his loneliness, no one he could truly open up to, and most importantly no family that loved him. He was all alone, a Kage without village or true home. He may love the village, but it certainly didn't love him back anymore. Every step in his old stomping grounds reminded him of what he lost. He slowly made his way back his eyes empty, his hair dulled as he swayed side to side like a drunk. The term dead man walking fit him perfectly, because on the inside, he was dying. There was only so much pain the human soul can take before it broke. He entered the door of his battered apartment, not caring about there being a giant hole in it from his earlier attempts to figure what was going on. He dropped to the bed lifeless, his eyes closed as his mental exhaustion caught up to him. Tears falling as his Heim crying face came to mind as she rejected him. He wanted her back, he wanted her to hug him, to reassure him like so many times before. But her warm embrace would never come. Without realizing it, the scenery changed to the watery void of what was left of his mindscape. Warm, slim arms embraced him lovingly. Surprised, Naruto looked up to see his beloved wife. Her midnight blue hair long going down the slime of her back, her pale moon-like eyes, giving him love and reassurance. Starlight pale skin was warm and soothing as it embraced him. Hinata-heim? He croaked. Tears pure happiness fell as his wife once again managed to help him in his time of need. But it didn't last, as her long hair turned crimson red. Her eyes turned into violet orbs with pupils and her face changed slightly. Naruto felt crushed as his wife disappeared once more, despite the fact the identity of the person was someone he longed to see. But she didn't make his pain go away. No, only his true love could truly do that. The new woman and boy looked in each other's eyes, tears staining both their faces. The women spoke in soothing and gentle tone. Misuko, there in the void that was now Naruto's mind, empty and barren, sat in this cold world, and the only source of light for its owner was Kushina, who was gently stroking her son's hair as he cried his grief away. Naruto was in too much grief over the loss of his wife, love of his life, to care about why his mother was back. He just hugged her tightly, wanting comfort in his time of need. Feeling a hand on his shoulder, turning his head, Naruto's eyes looked into blue eyes and blonde hair as radiant as his own. A small smile made its way onto his lips as he looked at his dad. His family was back. It wasn't the one he was longing for at the moment, but he was still happy that both of his parents were here with him. Kushina only smiled softly, tears in her own eyes as well. She was briefed on what happened, and though she still didn't quite understand or believe it, it was obvious her son needed his mother. There, Misuko. She couldn't help but feel a burst of joy that welled inside her as her adorable baby hugged her tighter, wanting comfort. The tears that welled up in her eyes fell freely. After 12 long years, she finally got to see her baby again. Although it was sooner than expected and for a different reason altogether, she was still going to help her baby boy and give him her motherly advice. Minato was having a similar reaction. The legendary Yondaime Hokage had tears in his own eyes as he looked at the state his son was in. Because this was his mindscape, Naruto's appearance was a reflection of his current state of mind, and though he was an adult in mind, he now looked like sickly 5-year-old. This is my fault, he thought misguidedly. He trusted the village to look after him, and what he saw while trapped in Seal horrified him. He was surprised when he found his son actually obtained happiness. He always sorts in the future. Since unlike Naruto, his and Kushina's chakra was that of the present and not of the future. Despite all the hardships his son went through, he couldn't help the immense pride he felt of learning of the man his son became through perseverance. But as he looked at his crying son and the shadow of the man he apparently once was, he felt nothing but guilt, because if he or Kushina had been there for him, their son could have had the happiness he wanted all along. If only we were there, then Naruto would have never had to suffer so much. He could have been happy from the start and not feel the need to start over. For Minato, he could only think that this could have all been prevented if his son only got the happy life he always wanted and deserved from the start. Exiting his thought, the father kneeled down and hugged both his son and wife. "Don't worry, Naruto, we're here and we can finally be a family." Naruto only sniffled as he looked at his two parents, their faces exactly the same as he remembered and so full of the love he always sought. "Ka-chan, Tu-chan," he said weakly. Both parents only gave their son their unconditional love. "Why are you here?" he finally asked, his grief-stricken mind finally questioning their presence. The answer came in a big voice. "The old man brought them back. After you left, the seal was in shambles, so he fixed it while releasing these two as well." Kurama stated, no longer held in its cage, though there was a little collar around his neck with the kanji for seal on it that kept the beast inside its jinchuriki. The fox glared at Kushina, who was giving it the stink eye. Still remembering the night, the fox took both hers and her husband's life from them. "Even if Sage of Six Paths vouched for you, I'm keeping an eye on you." To her it didn't matter that one of the most powerful beings in existence turned over a new leaf. Having only known the bastard the beast was, she wasn't ready to trust him, especially with her precious son. "Ka-chan?" Naruto voiced, and Kushina's glare instantly turned into a loving smile. The fox just looked the other way, huffing. Minato only shook his head. He would admit he found the fox a bit unnerving, but after witnessing the last day his son went through from within the seal, he knew that Naruto and the fox had a special bond. He only smiled in both happiness and irony. Here he was trusting his killer to have his son's best interest. When last he saw the beast, it was trying to impale said son. Minato was never one to hold grudges, especially seeing the endless cycle of hatred from his sensei and his own experience during the war. Looking at his son, he watched as Kushina put her hand on Naruto's cheek. "Now that's enough mopping, Naruto-chan. It's time to get your girl back." Kushina chimed enthusiastically, a big grin on her face at the thought of her future daughter-in-law. It surprised her what her son went through, but the few memories she had of Hinata's mother and from her son more than made the mother think she was perfect for her boy. But instead of the statement cheering Naruto up, it only made his mood worsen from remembering that his own wife wanted nothing to do with him. Her tear-stained face showed up and all he could was cry as memory of her words hurt him so much. "He would never call me Hinata-chan. Hinata-heim wants nothing to do with me anymore," he cried. What was he supposed to do when the love of your life rejected him? How could he keep going when his love hates him all because he was too dense to see and approach her sooner? He saw flashes of his family, his son and daughter, and most importantly, his wife and mother to his children. What's going to happen to Boruto and Himawari? Seeing her son cry and feel sorry for himself hurt Kushina so much, and she wasn't going to allow it. She raised her hand to Whiskered Cheek and slapped him. Naruto only blinked, his cheek now stinging red as he looked at his mother, who grabbed him by the collar and made him lock eyes with her. Her violet eyes glared at him with determination. "Now you listen her, Naruto. No son of mine is going to be a coward," she shouted fiercely, scaring Naruto as he remembered that his mother's nickname was the Akai Chishio no Habanero, red-hot-blooded habanero. It wasn't exactly his first time witnessing this side of her, but the brief moment from when they talked before the Fourth Shinobi War made him understand all too well why Shikamaru and Kiba always said their Kachans were scary. And now that side of her was directed at him, and he could honestly say that he was scared of his Kachan right now. Minato and Kurama could only slap themselves, remembering that Kushina wasn't exactly known for her subtle side. Kushina hair waved out into what looked like 9 tails and fire burned behind her eyes. "Now you listen. You are going to walk up to Hinata and give her a big sloppy one on the lips, and then you are going to tell her that you love her." Naruto was speechless at his Kachan's request. But he tried to stutter out, sounding just like his wife. "No buts. I want to see my grandchildren, so stop tiptoeing and just go all the way already," she roared, shocking Naruto. Luckily, his father finally had enough and tried to put a stop to his wife. Now, dear, I think Naruto and Hinata aren't ready for that yet and should take it slower so Hinata gets used to the idea that Naruto does know and cares about her a lot." Kushina, turning her head, could only growl at her husband. Minato stepped back as the habanero infamous rage is pointed at him once more. "Sorry dear, but I think the drastic approach should be taken. Hinata has waited long enough and drastic measures should be taken. And I want my grandbabies." Minato didn't really know what to do. It was obvious that Kushina only really cared about the last statement, and wasn't going to calm down easily. "Oh, please listen to the man, for goodness sakes," Kurama bellowed at his former Jinchuriki. Kushina glared and growled at the fox, who happily returned the hostility. "Oh, really, Furball? I think I know what's best for my son," she shouted back at the fox. still having half a mind to put him back behind bars. But it would waste the chakra she has. Oh please, it's obvious the brat's mate is more like Minato over there than you. It shot back. Kushina teeth grinding in anger, as she entered full habanero mode. Both Minato and Naruto backed away as Kushina's body darkened. Her eyes became empty white filled with rage and her fiery red hair waved around in nine like tails as if it was alive. How dare you! I dare! Kurama roared, its blood-red chakra, swelling around him, glowing full on red and the beast's tail swiping behind it as it bared its fangs and claws. Without wearing the biju and habanero rushed at each other with murderous intent. Right when they were going to clash and kill each other, a shout echoed throughout the dark void. Stop! Both beast and mother fell down to the floor. Looking up they see Naruto with teary eyes looking very, very angry. Both were pinned down by the boy's willpower. Sure, in his current state both could easily break out of his hold. After all, his control over his mindscape completely dependent on his state of mind that clearly wasn't good at the moment. But the angry and disappointed look he was giving them hurt them far worse than any words could. Even Kurama couldn't help the pang of sadness at seeing its partner look at him like that brought. For Kushina it was doubled as not only her son, but also her husband, was giving her a disappointed look as well. Minato glared angrily at both of them. I can't believe you two. I know that you've never seen eye to eye, but starting it here when Naruto needs support the most. His words were filled with anger, an undertone of disappointment that only made the two feel worse. But they both tried to say something back. No buts! Minato shouted just like his wife earlier. Don't you two think Naruto is much more important than you to spilling each other's guts? The words cut deeper than any sword and both could only mutter. I'm sorry. Sorry is not enough. Think about what you've done and no more fighting. With those words, Minato turned, Naruto releasing the hold he had over the two as his father carried him away. Both Kushina and Kurama sat down, frowning as their tails/hair fell to the ground and both their faces dropped in self-disappointment. Kurama's ears dropped, making him look especially cute. Once he got far enough away, Minato closed his eyes and when he opened them the house he and Kushina stayed in as they waited patiently for Naruto to born appeared. They were supposed to live here together as family. It hurt so much that never happened, but now that he was here with Naruto, he was going to do his best to give him the family he should have had. Minato entered the house and went upstairs. He saw a door with an orange sign on it with a drawing of Minato and Kushina on it. Their arms were open and the letters Naruto's room were underneath them. This was supposed to be Naruto's room as a child. It was filled with toys and cradle for him. But he never got a chance to enjoy it. With tears, Minato opened the door. Instead of the baby room they prepared all those years ago, was an orange room filled with some toys and a bed for Naruto. Minato made the room in the image of a child's one, since Naruto's current state was that of one that needed guidance and care. He hoped that giving Naruto the chance at the childhood he never knew, but always wanted would help him recover. Minato took Naruto to the bed and tucked him in, ruffling Naruto's hair causing him to smile. Ota-chan? Naruto asked in a childlike voice, whether it was his mind reverting to the state due to the environment, or to cope with everything he's been through was unknown. But Minato only smiled, as he was having one of those father and son moments he dreamed of while Kushina was pregnant, but never got to have. What is it, Masuko? Do you think Hinata-chan will take me back? Despite the childlike voice, it was an adult topic they were discussing. Well, do you love her? Minato asked. Even if the topic was something never really expected, he was still going to do his duty as a father and help his only son. Naruto could only nod. He loved her with all his being and more. Then just love her, even if she's not ready. As long as you continue to love her with all your heart, then your feeling will reach her and everything will turn out alright in the end. This made Naruto smile. Thanks, Ota-chan. Minato smiled. It made him so proud and happy to hear those words, ruffling his son's hair as he left the room. Good night, Masuko. Minato turned off the light. When the door closed, Naruto smiled for what felt like the first time in ages. He had his family back and it gave hope that he could get the rest of them back. Naruto falls into a peaceful sleep, getting ready for the harsh reality that awaits him tomorrow. Make Kushina and Kurama make up. Both Kushina and Kurama were sitting outside in the cold dark void that was now Naruto's mindscape. The fox and redhead looked at the nice cozy house that was the only source of light and shelter in this world. This is all your fault. Kushina grumbled to the fox, making sure to look away from the beast. My fault. The fox snapped back. It wasn't my so brilliant idea to have the kid go up and kiss his mate. The beast shot back. My plan was genius's. One kiss from my Naruto-chan and Hinata-chan would be putty in his hands. Kushina retorted, glaring at the fox. Ha ha ha, or earn him a big slap. You saw how his mate reacted when the brat was nice to her. Do you truly believe she would be any more accepting if the kid were to kiss her? Looking away and crossing her arms, Kushina responded. Of course, Hinata-chan loves Naruto-chan, so of course she would be happy to get kiss from him. Kushina stated, a hint of arrogance in her tone. The fox could only slap himself. But she doesn't believe that he's the real brat in the first place. Having the decency to look embarrassed, a tinge of red colored her cheeks. Shut up, I'm his Ka-chan, I know what's best for him. Giving her a look that clearly stated that she was wrong, Kurama sarcastically replied. Oh, this coming from the women who told him to go for a girl like you. Turning red in anger, her crimson hair raising up to challenge the insolent fox. What was that? What's wrong with my son marrying a woman that was just like me? The fox's eyebrow rose, as if telling her, are you serious? Seeing that she was, the giant chakra beast shook his head. Right when Kushina was going to shout back, a giant TV fell from the sky, landing in front of Kushina. Shinaro! Echoed throughout the void as the TV showed a memory of Sakura hitting Naruto. As soon as the clip finished, it would instantly switch to another similar scene of Naruto getting hit, and it continued showing the almost endless amounts of times Sakura punched the poor boy. See if you have your way, the kid would marry a woman who spends all day and night punching him, turning red in both rage and embarrassment. That's not true. I have never once hit Minato-kun, and Hinata-chan has never hit Naru-chan. Kushina shouted, pointing a finger at the fox. However, she was proven wrong when another video started to play. Minato! Kakashi! Obito! How dare you forget Rin's birthday? The Akai Chishio no Habanero, red-hot-blooded habanero, froze as the new clip showed her beating the living shit out of the boys after they pretend to forget Rin's birthday in order to surprise her. I rest my case. The ancient old fox stated smugly. A grin that showed exactly why the foxes were so well known for mischief. That proves nothing. Hinata-chan is like me, I wasn't wrong. Kushina shouted, too stubborn to admit defeat. The fox gave her "Are you serious?" look, again enraging the women as golden chains started waving behind her menacingly. Before she could react though, a second TV dropped from the sky right next to the other. Looking at the new and old TV, her irritation only grows further at what both screens were showing. Both screens showed almost the exact same image. The screen on the right showed a small blonde boy sitting at a desk, wearing a hoodie with green trimming. He was looking behind him, a tinge of red on his cheeks and admiration shining in his eye. The screen on the left was the exact same, except there was a blue-haired girl sitting in the same position as the boy and her hoodie was a creamy color. But she too had an almost identical look of admiration and blush coloring her face as the boy did. Kushina was left speechless, her mind processing what was in front. Taunting her above each of the screens, flashing in bright yellow, was Kushina's view and Naruto's view. It's obvious Hinata is more like Minato than she is you, growled the fox in victory, triumph shining in its eyes as it watched his former jailer seethed in outrage. I've had it, Kushina shouted, preparing to rip the fox a new one. I'm going to turn you into a new fur coat, she threatened. Kurama, however, wasn't bothered in the slightest. Bring it. In one last desperate attempt not to lose to the fox, Kushina screamed out. You're just jealous because my grandkids are going to love me more than they'll ever love you. This got a different reaction as the beast responded to the woman's taunts. Keep dreaming. Once more the screen changed, but this time it showed a young Himawari cuddling up to pet-sized Kurama. Kurama-kun, you're the fluffiest cuddly in the world, Hima breathed out as she buried her face into Kurama's fur. Now, as a giant chakra beast of mass destruction, no one would ever believe that Kurama willingly let itself be turned into a child snuggly. However, Kurama learned the hard way that children have a way to always get something when they really want it. It didn't take long for Himawari to tame the fox better than her dad ever did. At first, he cursed the child's insane cuteness. But because the beast never really had affection from any other human, but its father before Naruto. Its partner's children, especially Himawari, who loved cute and fluffy things, quickly endeared themselves to it. And now, as it watched Kushina's horrified expression, it took great pride in the fact that Hima loved his fluffiness so much. Take that, bitch, was the fox's satisfying thought. Before the fox could blink, however, Kushina jumped the beast, her chains wrapping around it, causing the beast to struggle as it tried to shake the annoying women off. The two unmovable forces fought one another before Minato slammed the house door open. What is going on out here? Naruto is trying to sleep. Both Kushina and Kurama stopped in their tracks. Kushina was currently in Kurama's mouth, her chains wrapped around him and stopping him from making a meal of her, the chains wrapped around his head causing one ear to be flaunted. Both of them looked at Minato like deer trapped in headlights. She started it. Both tried to pin blame on the other, but Kurama's came out as a mumble with his mouth currently occupied with Kushina. He's jealous because Himawari and Boruto will like me best. Kushina gave her case, not backing down even in the face of her husband. Yeah, right. Who would they rather snuggle up with? An old hag or a soft and fluffy fox like myself? Kurama growled, glaring at the women, right when the two were going to go for another round. Enough, both of you. I don't care who started it. Minato shook his head at the two's childish behavior. Besides, it's obvious the kids would love me the best. After all, I can take them anywhere they want with Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Raijin Jutsu. Oh yes, the glory of his and the second teleportation jutsu was truly a wonder. With it, he could visit any amusement park, show or resort on the planet and still be back by dinner with no one the wiser. As Minato dreamed of the possible future bonding with his future grandchildren, he felt a sudden burst of killer intent. Looking at Kushina and Kurama, both were glaring at him. Due to the fact they were in Naruto's mindscape, they needed to put a tiny bit of focus to make sure their thoughts aren't broadcast to everyone in their shared host. Minato unfortunately didn't do this, a bead of sweat dripping down the Yondaime Hokage face as both Kushina and Kurama grinned at one another before clicking their fists menacingly at Minato. Now there's no need to get angry, I'm sure the kids will love us all, yeah. He was cut off as both the beast and his wife came to a truce, pouncing on the poor man, sleepy eyes opening, staring at an unfamiliar ceiling. At the sight, his Hokage instincts and experiences kick in, causing Naruto to bolt out of the bed, his eyes surveying the room, ready to escape before his mind was even awake. When his mind finally caught up, so did his memories of everything that happened yesterday, making the man-turned-boy curse. Shit, despite what he hoped, his time travel incident wasn't just an elaborate dream. He somehow really did accidental travel back to his pre-genin days and erase the future he spent years building. To make matters worse, his future wife hated him, and his friends thought him a joke. What was next on the list of how best to screw Naruto's life up? Catching a strange scent making its way into his room, Naruto left the room hoping to get this day over with. Well, it's not like it can get any crazier. Apparently, he was dead wrong. The minute got down the stairs, Naruto saw his deceased father black and blue on the couch, while his deceased mother just laid down a plate of meat in front of a German shepherd-sized fox, while also petting said fox on the head. "Morning, sweetie, breakfast is served." His mother happily waved her hand to the table full with enough food that it was like a 5-star restaurant. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr he hadn't had anything. Naruto knew this being all in his head wouldn't feed his growing hunger, but it would at least make him think he was full, so his hunger didn't bother him for a while. Taking a seat, Naruto gave his parents and fox partner weird looks. "How is it, Kurama?" Kushina asked, the fox with a smile surprising the boy as last he saw they were at each other's throats. "Delicious, nice and juicy, just how I like it," Fox responded in a deep voice, chewing on his own food like a common house pet. When his blue eyes laid on his father, Naruto was surprised to see the man looking as if his soul was sucked out, his fork poking at a plate full of green instead of the full English breakfast everyone else had. That was it. It was official. Naruto had gone crazy in the hours he's been asleep, the mental household having turned upside down. And honestly, Naruto didn't care. The world already proven it has more ways to screw him over. It was own fault for inviting as soon as he woke up. Stabbing his fork into the sausage, Naruto let the food melt into his mouth, humming as he did. "It's good, but still not Hinata Himes," Naruto thought, scoffing down the food, eating food with his family, even if it was not the one he was longing for at the moment. Ironic, wasn't it? He spent his whole life wanting to eat with his family like this, and now that he's got it, he would trade it all just to see his wife, son and daughter smiling back at him. Having finished a family breakfast, Naruto woke up in his half-destroyed apartment. Putting on a blue shirt and orange sleeveless jacket coupled with blue ninja pants, Naruto left. Looking at the time, he saw he had just enough time to get some training in. 30 minutes later, using a shadow clone as a decoy to remove any unwanted stalkers. Naruto wasn't a fool. Danzo or the council would have eyes on him after he blew up his own apartment. Speaking of that, how was he going to fix it? Well, he was sure G-san would sort something out. But at the moment he needs to keep under the radar, which would be hard to do as he needed to train back up and prepare for the future attack on the village. Luckily, he had shadow clones. All he needed to do is have one do his normal routine while he sneaks off to train and then swap back with none the wiser. When classes started, no one would ever know he was gone in the first place. Going to the most secluded and unused training ground, he could, so no one would chance on his training. Naruto made his famous hand sign with his fingers forming a cross. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. With a shout, the training field was covered with almost 100 clones, all ready to do their part, having the same plan that Naruto had in mind. Most of them made the hand seal for Ram. Henge. With a shot and a poof of smoke, the clones transformed, taking on the appearance of Naruto in his younger days. There were clones of himself from when he saved his Heim from Tonari, him after 3 years of training with Jiraiya, and him during his Genin days. "Right, you all know what to do." The clones nodded, splitting into groups based on size and starting to run through taijutsu forms. Every few minutes, starting from the oldest looking clone, will dispel themselves in groups of 5. With the experience sent to him and the rest of the clones, Naruto will at least mentally adapt to his childhood body. Though this will do nothing for his muscle memory and reflexes, as he'll need to build those up himself. By having clones practices using the transforming jutsu, working down from his future height will at least help him keep his new size in mind as he goes about day-to-day actives and adjust to his preteen body sooner. And after they caught up to his non-transformed clones, they will switch to chakra control exercises and do the same thing. At least the clones could help build up his chakra control back up to what it was in his past life. With that done, he started rushing to the academy before classes started. Sure, he had a clone taking his place, but after years of using it, he noticed clones had a habit of being a bit more liberal than him, and that would make matters worse because who knows what trouble the clone will get into. Luckily, he found his clone waiting in the storage room he designated for them to meet up and swap places just before classes started. Unluckily, as soon as he dispelled it, he had memoirs of having stalked his Heim for the past 30 minutes or so. "Oh, Kami, if someone really was following me, they're going to think me a weirdo." His only saving grace was that it seemed his Heim didn't notice, nor did she active her Byakugan to check. Seriously, How many more ironies was he going to get thrown into his face now? Instead of being the one getting stalked, he was the stalker. Leaving the room, taking some glue and other stuff to make it look like he came for some prank supplies, Naruto went to class hoping it would be better than yesterday. Entering the room just on time, Naruto was happy no one looked at him too strangely after yesterday's PJ incident. He was going to get Iruka back for that, it was a promise. Looking to his Heim, catching her eyes having been staring at him since he entered only for her to look away as soon as blues met lavender, an angry glare on her face. At least that was how it looked like, but to Naruto her glaring face just looked adorable, and was more likely to make someone hug her than keep them away. Walking up slowly, so slowly that he took him a good minute till he was standing in front of his Heim. "Gee, good morning." Naruto started weakly, his Heim avoiding eye contact, not saying a word as he took a seat next to her. Trying to talk to his beloved only fell on deaf ears as his Heim refused anything from him, so convinced he wasn't he real crush. "Oh, looks like we have some trouble in paradise." Ino watched from afar. A pink-haired girl was thinking along similar lines. "I knew it, Naruto will back following me any second now. There was no way him and that stuck-up princess was going to work out." Inner Sakura thought, already imagining how she was going to act after Naruto tried to win her back. She had her Sasuke-kun, so she would never say yes to his attempts of affection. But it's not like she could help it either. It should be a crime for someone to be as beautiful as her. Iruka, and much to his dismay, Mizuki walked into the class. Naruto was doing his best to suppress a glare at the teacher assistant. He didn't want to give it away, not before they could catch him in the act and lock him up for good. Iruka took roll call and started a simple lecture. His Heim next to him was surprised to find that he was actually paying attention somewhat. After the war and during his Hokage training, Iruka literally beat it into him to stay still and listen, especially when his teacher was hammering years' worth of material for his Jonin test. Now that he thought about, he never actually did that test and became Hokage while still a genin. Class continued and they got to the fun part, taijutsu spars, and luckily for Naruto at least 40% of his clones were dispersed, giving him the hang of his new body. Naruto Uzumaki vs Sasuke Uchiha. Mizuki called out. After thinking about it, he realized almost all his matches were against Sasuke, most likely due to Mizuki Temi, who rigged it so he would lose and get bad grades on purpose. Sasuke walked onto the field without a care in the world, and Naruto couldn't himself. He wanted to knock off the smirk on both Temi's faces. Walking up, Naruto made the seal of confrontation, surprising the class and teacher seeing Naruto behavior for once. Sasuke did the same, seemingly not caring. Even Naruto, having been his best friend for years in his last life, couldn't read the unemotional Uchiha. The match started, neither moved, making the match more surprising as Naruto would normally rush in this time and end up facing the sky. Seeing the dobe wasn't going to be the first to move, Sasuke charged, intending to finish it quickly. Naruto made no moves whatsoever as Sasuke approached. Sasuke Uchiha, the top of the class, found himself looking at clouds in the blue sky, a throbbing pain in his nose and gasping entering his ears. Getting up, Sasuke looked right at Naruto, who was standing unfazed, his right hand stretched out into a fist. At this point, much to the class's surprise, Sasuke had been down by Naruto with a single punch. "Sasuke-kun!" Fangirls shouted in worry. Naruto Baka cheated. There's no way he could knock Sasuke-kun down. Sakura shouted, while all the boys wonder if it was true and if it was how they could do the same and teach the smug Uchiha a lesson. "Sasuke, if you're unable to continue, I'll stop the fight," Iruka said with a smile, making the previously stunned Uchiha get up. No one else saw it, but he did. There was no trick to it like they thought. Naruto simply held his fist out as the Uchiha charged, not even enough to call it a punch, and Sasuke ran right into it face first. At this point, Iruka realized that all of Sasuke's spars had been him defending, and the Uchiha was almost never on the attack since the Uchiha taijutsu empathized countering. Sasuke was taken by surprise, but the question is, would it last, or would this become the top of the class's one weakness? "I can't believe it, this dobe knocked me down. Me and Uchiha." Not having learned his lesson, Sasuke rushed forward, throwing a straight at Naruto, who haphazardly dodged the attack, clumsily spinning on his pivoting foot. Sasuke was smirking at this, thinking the last attack was just a fluke, when he felt the force of something hitting his right cheek, and for the second time that day Sasuke was on the ground staring at the class loser. Sasuke second down. Iruka called. This was bad. The Uchiha was panicking. The spars end from ring out, knockout, forfeit, and in this case 3 downs. One more and he would lose. Sasuke wasn't going to allow that, getting into his fighting stances as the rest of the class watched with looks of shock on their faces as Naruto landed a back fist counter, giving him a second down, while Sasuke was at null. A certain Hyuga watched with worried eyes, conflicted. No matter how she looked, it was her Naruto-kun, but something just wasn't right. Others didn't notice, but those 2 counters were not lucky and were done on purpose, advanced techniques done in a way that made them look sloppy while there was actually no sloppiness in their execution. Sasuke's black eyes glared at Naruto, the Uzumaki unmoving. Come on, come on. Sasuke thought, waiting for Naruto to go on the attack, but the dobe didn't move. The time ticked by and Sasuke realized Naruto had no intention of making a move. He was in the lead and would win by decision when time ran out. The Uchiha wasn't having this. Sasuke wasn't going to lose to the dead last. Going on the attack, but prepared for anything, Sasuke watched with satisfaction as Naruto stayed on the defense, getting slowly pushed back. "Yes, take that dobe. You should have never tried to fight an Uchiha." At the exact moment he thought that, Naruto stopped in tracks, Sasuke readying his finisher right straight. But Naruto seemed to vanish as it was about to land, the momentum carrying him forward and tripping over something. The Uchiha flipped forwards, landing on his back. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Iruka called, shocking the class speechless. Sasuke blinked as he heard the words. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. No, that was wrong, he clearly tripped, it was a slip, not a down. Standing up to argue as he turned, Sasuke saw Naruto getting up from what looked like a crouch position. But that wasn't what had Sasuke's attention, it was the markings on the ground in front. A cold realization hitting him. He had lost by ring out. No, it wasn't just ring out, he had been completely defeated by the class clown. Naruto's position made it clear his ring out was on purpose, and with 2 downs Naruto could have won with a third or even by decision. He, the last Uchiha, was utterly defeated by a clanless orphan. The only way he could have pulled a comeback was by KO or ring out, but in the end Naruto knew that, using it to make him lose by ring out. What the hell happened to the dough? He asked, thinking back over the fight, and he was sure that those moves weren't flukes, but cold and calculating attacks to win. This was completely different from Naruto's normal rush in and hope for the best fighting style. No, the way he thought was closer to Sasuke's winning in the most efficient way possible, but there was something else, something Sasuke couldn't quite place. The class was silent as Naruto, the dead last, beat the top of the class for the first time with a ring out. It was so silent that you could hear the buzzing of insects coming from Shino. At least it was before it all went to hell. What? Every girl, but Hinata, shouted, kicking off a mountain of complaints. He cheated. There's no way Sasuke-kun could lose. Naruto must have done something. The Uchiha fan club shout one after another, refusing to believe their idol could be beaten by Naruto of all people. Seconds away from riot breaking out, Iruka took a deep breath. Quiet. The shout vibrated through the air as Iruka's head grew in size, turning even the most aggressive of fangirls into docile puppies. We all watched, and it was obvious there was no cheating involved. The girls were glaring at Iruka only for the teacher to glare back at them, making them look away and switch over to glaring at Naruto. Oh boy, I only wanted to take Temi down a notch by making it look like a fluke, but the girls are still pissed at me, and if I say it was a fluke that would only make me look weirder in Hinata's eyes. The time traveler thought desperately. His child self by now would be bragging to the whole village that he beat Mr. Genius, and him doing anything else would give away that he was acting strange. On the bright side, no one would hold it against him if he didn't brag while an army of girls were giving him the death glare. Now make the sign of reconciliation, Iruka called, but Sasuke walked right past Naruto, whispering as he did, "You got lucky this time." But next team, his words trailing off, adding the usual dramatic Uchiha sense to it. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders, looking to his Heim, seeing her with Kiba rousing his jealousy. Hinata watched the fight with intense interest, but it only confirmed her suspicions that this wasn't her Naruto-kun. Sure, she was confident that if they didn't fight on sparring rules, her Naruto-kun could pull a win from the Uchiha. But with all the different rules that ended the match prematurely, even she knew that Naruto would at a huge disadvantage. His endless stamina, one of his best traits, made useless in these types of fights. Unlike everyone else who refused to believe it or was taken by surprise, she was watching and could easily tell from start to finish Naruto was in control of the fight. Her Naruto-kun has never fought like that, which only begged the question, where was her real beloved? Man, Hinata, what the hell did you do? Naruto's like a different person. One Kiba Inuzuka stated. It was odd for the dog Nin to talk to her, but having Naruto one-up him against Sasuke was something he wasn't going to stand for. Normally Hinata would a stuttering mess at the thought of someone she hardly knows striking up a conversation with her. But not this time. This time she was actually happy the person who was speaking to her was Tracker and could help prove she was right and find her real beloved. Maybe he is a different person, Hinata slyly suggested, waiting for the dog Nin's reaction. Ha, yeah, right, that's Naruto, alright, at least that's what the nose knows, but wouldn't you have an easier time with those all-seeing eyes of yours? Kiba demonstrated, making a glasses-like gesture with his hands over his eyes. Hinata straightened up at this. Not once did she consider using the Byakugan to confirm her suspicions. She wanted to hit herself for not realizing something so simple. She's seen Naruto-kun enough times with the Byakugan to know him by the back of her hand, and that even compared to Ninja Naruto's chakra was unique, having a mix of two colors that would blend together, making a nice orange hue. Or the fact that his chakra was higher than the academy instructors, not to mention the odd seal on his abdomen that she saw. There was just no way an imposter could copy all of that perfectly, and would tell her at a glance if it was her Naruto-kun or someone else. Going through the hand signs to activate her Byakugan, Hinata felt the veins around her eyes enlarge as chakra was pouring into them. As the world went black and white, Hinata sought out the Naruto-kun imposter, seeing him walking right over to her, his chakra a nice sea of yellow with bits of red flowing into it that would slowly turn orange as they were absorbed into the yellow sea. The seal so complicated that it made the caged bird seal of her family look like a doodle done by a 5-year-old. There no doubt now this was her Naruto-kun. His chakra matched perfectly. The seal on his stomach was the same one she memorized in an attempt to figure out what it was, and she slapped him. "Oh, Kami!" So, blinded by his new attitude, she had hit her Naruto-kun, called him a fake, and pushed him away. What if this makes him not want to be friends with me anymore? Her heart raced at the thought, her breathing becoming more rapid as panic set in. If he rejected her, She would be destroyed even more so knowing it was her fault after Naruto finally reached out to her like she dreamed he would. Hinata didn't feel the hand on her shoulder, her focus on Naruto as his chakra suddenly started spiking, shifting around almost as if it was attacking itself. Naruto was pissed as he saw Kiba place a hand on his Hinata-chan. To the protective future husband, it looked as if Kiba was making a move on her, infuriating the boy. His fist started to clench, readying to sock Kiba a good one, when suddenly he felt a sharp pain from his head. The vision of his beloved and Kiba went fuzzy as headache like no other assaulted him. Putting a hand to his head, he tried to keep it together and act normal, but the pain intensified until both Hinata and Naruto fell to the floor. The rest of the class seeing Naruto, as he fell while Hinata fainted unknown to anyone else, but Kiba who caught her. Naruto wakes up along with a screeching headache. The first thing to greet his sight is an endless dark void. Getting up, rubbing his head, Naruto complains. "Oh, Kami, what was that? I feel like I got a hangover and I've never had one before thanks to the fox." "I'm morning, Naruto-kun," an ancient and wise voice called, making Naruto turn his eyes to see the ancestor of all shinobi. "Oh, bloody hell! What's gone wrong this time?" Naruto shouts to the heavens, knowing that seeing the sage never lead to good news. "Language," the sage told off. "And just because I'm here doesn't mean it's something bad." Naruto gave the "Are you serious?" look, holding up two fingers. The warning about Kagura ending the world and our unexpected time travel incident aren't exactly good things. The sage couldn't argue with the boy and decided to get it over with and explain what happened. "I am sure you want to know what happened and why you are experiencing a splitting headache right now." The infamous Rinnegan eyes bore into Naruto, who huffed in response, having had enough unexpectedness for a lifetime. "Well, it's quite simple. Your body is facing rejection from the time travel." The sage was cut off as his reincarnated son shouts. "What?" The shout echoed in the empty void. Naruto knew that rejection was never good and that usually it resulted in fatal injury when it relates to the body. "Calm down, boy," the sage spoke. "It wasn't as bad as the boy thought. While you were more or less freed from the laws of time, thanks to the combination of mine and my children's chakra, you are still mostly human, while your soul is closer to what I am." The sage hovered closer to Naruto. "But your body is still human and your physical energy isn't as pure as your mental energy, resulting in your soul being safe while your body reset to match the time period." Naruto nodded at this. The difference between mental or physical energy was never his strong suit, but he knew that chakra was made by the combination of both. "Because your body is the same as when it was during this time period, it has none of my chakra, while your soul does. This causes the body to unknowingly attack and try and push out the large quantity of foreign chakra in an attempt to reset your soul so it matches." Finishing up, the sage was not expecting to see Naruto glaring at him. "And you couldn't warn me about the pain beforehand?" Naruto snapping, really just having had enough. "I didn't know." Naruto was expecting a lot of things like an apology, but the almost omnipotent being to say he didn't know was kind of unnerving. Time travel is a very complicated process that always possesses some risks. Normally only beings such as myself with the purest chakra possible could even attempt it. But Naruto, you are my descendant, and also the reincarnation of my son. Your body and soul are either fully human nor a transcendental being like myself. Because of this, while you have power similar to ours, your body doesn't have the same resistance to it as ours do." The sage stopped for a bit, letting Naruto take it all in before continuing some more. "So, I truly had no idea what would happen when someone in between transcending humanity travels back." Naruto's head hung in defeat. "So, what's going to happen? Is my body going to destroy itself or something, since my soul is different?" Naruto sighed in defeat, losing the will to actually do anything about it. "Oh, heavens no, actually your body will be even stronger than your last one." Naruto blue eyes looked down at the sage in surprise. "Unlike a soul, the body isn't as malleable and usually can't withstand sudden changes. But besides, when developing in the womb, the body is at its most adaptive when in the pre-adolescent stage, and since your body has been exposed to Karamas since before birth, your body will adapt to the six paths and tailed beast chakra even more than in your previous life. So as your physical and mental energies mix, Naruto, you will become closer to what I am." Naruto didn't really care much about becoming closer to the sage, but he did like the thought of going up against Kagaya again on more even ground. They barely made it through last time even with six paths chakra. If he can match the sage, then the final battle will be a lot easier. Though Naruto had no intention of letting the war play out the same, if at all, if he could help it. With their discussion ending, Kushina appeared out of nowhere, giving the sage a cup of tea. "Ah, thank you, milady." At the same time, Minato also came out of hiding, wanting to learn from the original shinobi. The two of them were a little surprised to see the sage again so soon and didn't want to interfere with what looked like an important discussion. But with it done, Minato had a chance that almost no one else will ever have the chance to talk to the original god of shinobi. "Rikudo-sama?" Minato spoke, the sage looking at him, his Rinnegan eyes unintentional, making the fourth squirm. "Could you please go over some chakra and space-time theory with me, please?" Minato asked as his wife laughed at seeing Minato like this. While he was one of the most mature people she's ever known, whenever anything to do with learning jutsu came up, Minato was just a little kid at heart. And she really couldn't deny that she too was interested what the sage would say. The ancient wise one stroked his beard, thinking it over now. Normally he would keep such knowledge to himself and away from human hands, but Minato and Kushina were already dead, so it didn't matter. Not only that, but the sparkle in Minato's eyes reminded him so much of his younger days as he explored the truth and learned about the energy of nature with the help of the toads. Sure, I don't see the harm. As he said the words, a Zabuton appeared before him, and Minato eagerly took a seat, wanting to squeal about having the chance to debate with the legendary Rikudo-sanin. I don't understand how Naruto is not causing a paradox. Even if time is only supposed to move in one direction, doesn't Naruto existing go against the rules of the universe? Minato started off. Unlike his son, he has spent most of his life experimenting with space-time jutsu like his signature jutsu Hiraishin, and from what he's seen when the sage first spoke about it, that there was much more to it than the simple explanation he gave Naruto. Yes, you see, there are actually no such laws of the universe, as the very nature of chakra itself is to define such rules. The nature chakra that flows all around us defines the laws on a dimensional scale as a side effect of simply existing life. Death, physics, space, time are affected by natural energy that flows through the universe. Kushina leaves the two boys alone thinking. Boys will be boys. Turning to her son, who seemed to be trying to make sense of Sage was going on about. You better wake up, you have a surprise waiting for you, Tay. Kushina giggled, leaving Naruto confused as went inside to prepare some snacks, knowing the discussion was going to take a while. Waking up in the real world this time, Naruto's whole body felt heavy. Trying to get up, he feels arms around him, and the weight makes him think of something he dearly missed. Turning, Naruto saw a ball of midnight blue hair lying on his chest, and upon closer inspection the peaceful face of his Haim. For a second Naruto thought it was all a dream and he was waking up next his wife, only to be disappointed as he noticed his Haim's hair was short, and her face was a lot younger. Even if this wasn't his own time, feeling his Haim so close to him again after so long made him feel bliss. Pulling his Haim closer, sighing in content, Naruto closed his eyes, just enjoying the feeling of having his beloved so close to him again. At this moment in time nothing else mattered. He had his Haim by his side, that alone made everything alright. Hinata awoke, her face nuzzling into the soft pillow beneath her. At least it was, until noticing said pillow was raising and falling softly. Opening her heavy eyes, Hinata looks up, seeing whisker marks atop sun-kissed skin and a head of blonde hair. Eep! Squeaking in surprise, bolting up her head, feeling dizzy only for strong arms to wrap around her and keep her steady. Wow there, be careful or you're going to fall, Naruto said with sincere worry, as his love hung on the edge of the bed. The dazed Hinata was looking at Naruto with worries of her own. I'm sorry, she all but shouted, making Naruto confused. I hit you and called you a fake, I'm so sorry. Hinata started tearing up, causing Naruto to hug her, his hand stroking her hair gently. While the hug was surprising, it was far from unwelcomed, and after everything Hinata didn't care. She got a hug from her beloved for the very first time. Shush, it's alright, I understand you didn't mean any of it, and was just shocked. Naruto soothed. It wasn't the first time he comforted his Haim, and it wasn't going to be the last. In this timeline, or the previous, his Haim was his Haim, and he would always be there for her. I'm sorry you just changed, and I didn't believe you were real. Naruto knew what she meant. It was no surprise his sudden change would spook her and get such a reaction, and now that she realizes he was the real one, she was beating herself up over it. It's alright, Hinata-chan, it's my own fault for never getting to know you better. You were always nice to me, but I never realized, and then when I did it was too sudden. Naruto told her, blaming himself. He had years of his Haim watching and encouraging him, but he never figured it out until it was almost too late. No, I was as much at fault. I should have approached you myself. I saw you were lonely, but I could never do anything about it because I was coward. Hinata's lavender eyes were looking into Naruto's deep blues. It was only a second later she looked away, a tint of red on her face. Naruto ends up smiling softly at her. It wasn't the first time they had an argument about this. It happened a lot when they first got together. Each of them blaming themselves for taking so long to get together, going back and forth until they both agreed they were at fault. But the good thing about time travel was that he could fix all that. I guess we're both to blame, but it's alright now, isn't it? Naruto lifting her eyes to meet his Haim turning redder by the second, entranced by his deep blues. Having lost the ability to speak, all Hinata could do was nod, Naruto giving her a bright smile that had her seeing stars. It wasn't until Naruto heard go that her thought process returned to normal, and she realized there was one question she had to know the answer to. And Naruto-kun, what happened? Why have you changed so much? Hinata gathered her courage, her lavender eyes looking at him with that spark of determination that made him want to ravish her. She cared and knew more about her Naruto-kun more than anyone else, and found it strange that he was getting so close to her, even though they were more or less strangers that happened to share the same class. If it wasn't for the seriousness question of the question, he probably would have and gotten started on rebuilding his family right then and there. Naruto paused, his mind racing, trying to think of what to say. Sure, he could say the truth, and Hinata, being Hinata, would believe him. But it would also make their relationship go back to square one, as Hinata would not be able to look at him without fainting if she found out they were married and had 2 kids in the future. Luckily, Naruto thought of the perfect excuse to use until his beloved was ready for the full truth. Hinata-chan, I found out why the villagers hate me, and it changed a lot of things. One of them was the fact I always wanted to befriend you, but I was scared because I didn't want to drag the only person who was nice to me into my problems without knowing why. This was half true and half false. Him finding out about Kurama, while did change his outlook back when he first found out, it had nothing to do with what was happening now. The second part was true, however. When he was young, he did want to befriend Hinata along with most of his other class. But her being so shy made it hard for him, even more so when he thought about getting rejected or him being friends with her getting her into trouble. Do remember when I saved you from bullies during that winter? You thanked me and it made me really happy. But when the academy started, it was like we were strangers. Hinata gasped at this. Naruto remembered that. It was a special moment for her, and the fact he remembered just made her giddy on the inside. Before now, Naruto never gave her any indication that he remembered her. I didn't know why and doubted if you were the same girl or not. But I found you in the same situation. I tried to save you again and once more got beat up. But then your family showed up and he dragged you away as you tried to help me. Hinata remembered this. Unlike the first time, it was summer, but with the same bullies. But if though the situation was the same, it was still special to her. On that day she was rejected by her father and sister. But then fate led her to Naruto, who saved again and gave her the courage to keep trying. And she was angry at Ko. If he didn't stop her, maybe things would be different. Maybe she would have befriended Naruto sooner. After that I started thinking I was better off without friends. Because they would only get into trouble with their family, and it would be all my fault. And since I didn't know why they hated me, I couldn't do anything about it. He had this conversation before with his wife. After speaking again and again, both him and Hinata realized they still had unsolved issues with their past, and together they spoke and resolved them. Naruto was telling her what he realized in his past life thanks to her. It was one of his innermost secrets. That's enough. Hinata almost shouted, but still said it clearly enough. Naruto stopped looking at his Hime with tears in her eyes. You don't need to say anymore. But no, I don't care what my family thinks. It's my choice who I befriend or not, and not theirs. You don't need to tell me anymore. But just know I'm here for you, Naruto-kun. At seeing her tears and hearing her say that, Naruto was reminded that even if she didn't have memories of a past life, she was and would always be his Hime and soulmate. Naruto felt his own tears well up and he wiped them away. Thanks, Hinata-chan. I can't tell you everything yet, but I just want you to know that I think of you as a friend and I hope you think the same for me. I do, Hinata said without any hesitation, and Naruto took her by surprise, hugging her tightly. In truth, Hinata wasn't happy with that. She cared for him more than a friend, but she couldn't just confess. Naruto was the same. He wanted to tell her he loved her, but he couldn't, not yet anyway. He had to take the proper steps, otherwise he would shock her, and it could all backfire. But it was a start. He had finally started fixing what was broken, and one day, he would his Hime and children by his side once more. A man was walking through the door to the infirmary. What he did not expect to find on the other side, though, was young Naruto hugging Hinata-san like a lover, an evil smirk appearing on his cough at the cough, the two jumping away from each other, no longer hugging, tint of red on both their cheeks. Should I come back later? There, smiling at them, was the Sandame Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi. Hokage-sama. Hinata quickly getting up, bowing with all the pose expected of a Hyuga. Oh, no need to hold to formalities, Hinata-chan. I just came to get Naruto. Thank you so much for looking after him. Naruto was glaring at the third for interrupting his Hina time. Oh, no, not all. Hinata didn't have it in her to tell the third that she fainted, and was only then she realized that we're in the infirmary. Did Naruto-kun bring me here? Hinata thought, blushing at the thought of Naruto taking care of her. Well, thank you anyway. So Naruto, if you're done with your girlfriend, we have some business to discuss. The third stated, making them both blush up a storm. Ah. Naruto shouts, getting off the bed, saying goodbye to his Hime as he did. I'll see you soon, Hinata-chan. Smiling, making the girl go redder as her head went woozy. As the two left, Hinata clamped her hands over her heart, trying and failing to calm it down. Minutes went by with the third having gone quite, leading Naruto to one of them secluded parts of the village. So, you and Hinata-chan, I hope you will be happy together. Sandame spoke, already having a good idea about the relationship they had in their past life. Oh, don't worry, we will be, I'll make sure of that. Responding with confidence, Naruto's eyes gazing about subtlety, the two made idle chatter as they went deeper and deeper into the forest of the Hidden Leaf Village. Finally, the two Kages felt a strange feeling as if they were entering a bubble, and both of them picked up the chakra that just passed over them. Naruto and the Sandame suddenly disappeared from view, and as soon as they did, a shadowy figure jumped down, investigating where they went. There we go, we should be fine to talk openly now. The Sandame was walking down an almost overgrown path, the forest wilder compared to the rest of the village's forests. Looks like roots already made their move. Naruto grumbles, not happy to be dealing with emotionless killing machines. Yes, most likely because the council agreed to make the Uzumaki clan an official ninja clan. The Sandame turned, seeing Naruto smiling. Sure, after his family was born it was the same for him, but in his time the Uzumaki was only known as the clan the world saver belonged to. Their history and origins still widely unknown, but now it was different. Instead of Uzumaki being known because of him, he will be known as a member of the proud Uzumaki rulers of Yuzu no Kuni. Now when his fame spreads, the world will remember that the Uzumaki clan has and always will exist. Also, the changes to the curriculum will be in effect by next week, and you should start learning about your clan's history. While the art course will also be reinstated, They won't take effect until next year, as the courses were made only to help students with above-average chakra reserves. Normally, high-level chakra exercises are taught after graduation to prevent people who can't graduate from leaving and misusing their teachings. But the course was put into place to ensure students with potential could still become ninja even if they lack backing of a clan that would usually compensate for their lack of chakra control. However, you do now have the right to substitute clones, and you most likely already know all the necessary chakra techniques and how to learn them. Naruto could accept this. The important thing is that his clan history will be taught, and not forgotten again. He himself didn't need training and was sure that besides himself no one else would be held back by the lack of the course, at least in his class. But he was sure the third was already taking steps to ensure he found any students that still have a chance to become a ninja. Finally, you will receive everything the Uzumaki left, and your inheritance. Plus, since you blew up your apartment, you shall move into the Uzumaki compound. The minute he finished, a gate with the red spiral of the Uzumaki clan came into view. Touching it, Naruto felt the tickling feeling of his chakra as inviolable seals on the gate flashed, and the door opened by itself. The area has a barrier to prevent entry and protect the place. Because of the genjutsu effect, people end up wandering away from the place, so unless they knew the location beforehand, no one would be able to locate. Most likely the seal activated when the Kyuubi attack, and the place has been barricaded ever since. It made sense the best way to keep something hidden was not let people know where it was. When he considers how far away from the main village it was, Naruto wonder if in his timeline the place survived. The village had been rebuilt so many times and records of its layout founding days were stretched thin. Naruto wouldn't have ever known the place existed after everything that happened in his timeline. Naruto looked, seeing a single, but rather huge building, almost like some miniature castle. Naruto noted compared to other clans the compound it was smaller, but when he factored in the land the barrier covered, while the compound wasn't in the village itself, but on the outskirts, Naruto could tell that when village wall was built the Uzumaki compound wasn't included, most likely for the hope of future expansion or just lack of use. But it was thanks to that the place was more or less safe from attacks on the village. Remembering where the masked temple, Naruto realized that the temple wasn't in the barrier area, but still fairly close. How come the masked temple isn't under the barrier effects? Naruto found this odd. The temple was important to his clan, and while this building was more or less in perfect condition, the temple was wrecked. The temple was originally the local shrine managed by the clan and used by all the villagers. But as the village expanded and the Uzumaki clan was lost in the Third Ninja War, no one was there to keep up maintenance, and all the important documents and jutsu were kept in the compound. Naruto nodded at this, piecing it all together. The people of the village had no idea the significance behind the masks were, and by the sound of it the third was also kept in the dark. Looks like the masks were purposely stored separately to keep them safe. Even in his timeline, Naruto didn't know what the masks could do. Orochimaru himself stated that the masks were beyond even him, and it was only because of the Shiki Fujin being in the Forbidden Scroll that he found out about the mask temple. But even he was clueless about any other functions of the masks. Well, Naruto would have to research them himself, and see if any documents that explained them were in the compound later. Taking a look around, Naruto saw a lush garden that was overgrown and a pond, while the building itself was intact by seals that Naruto couldn't even imagine the garden and plant life were still left to grow. It would take some sorting out, but it was his and better than his previous run-down/destroyed apartment. This was also the closest to his dead clan has ever been. While he did visit their homeland, it was far from splendor it once was. But this house was intact. It was truly one of the last remnants of the Uzumaki clan. The house style was different from the current houses used in Konoha. The house was made of wood, brown for the most part, but the section between the tiled roof were made of redwood. The tiles themselves were blue, seeming to shine from the sun despite over a decade of no maintenance. The first floor of the house stretched out quite a bit, having multiple buildings attached to it. The second floor started going up around the middle of the first with similar tower shape of a castle. The house itself was very traditional, with the front door being a slide one, with an entranceway on the inside. This was his new home. Naruto had to remind himself, even as Hokage, he never lived in such a luxurious building. He and his wife had a simple 2-story house and enough room for both them and their kids. And honestly, that was all he really needed. He was never one to be fancy, but he supposed he had to get used to it. Bright side is that we will have enough room to have a few more kids, Naruto thought, smiling at the image of the house housing a new Uzumaki clan. Naruto? He was brought out of his dream as the third called him. There's something we need to discuss. Naruto nodded, expecting the Sandaime to ask him about some more. When you revealed you knew the truth about the Uchiha clan, you said there were 6 who knew and you weren't including yourself in that. Who is the 6th person to know the truth behind the tragedy? The Sandaime couldn't have it. The secret itself could cause the downfall of the village if it leaked out, let alone compromise Itachi's spy statues. I can't say who it is, exactly, but I can ensure that he intends to keep it a secret for now. The 6th person is the one who helped Itachi carry out his mission, as well as the one behind the Kyuubi attack 12 years ago. Naruto told him, shocking the Sandaime. They already knew someone was behind the attack. It was the only plausible conclusion. When you think about it, how else could the Kyuubi have escaped? Not only that, but both his wife and midwife as well as guards were both found dead in the hideout. they used intact, ruling out the fox escaping on its own. It was these clues along with others which lead the Uchiha clan to be suspected until they eventually attempted a coup. But that wasn't the most shocking truth. If the culprit helped kill off the Uchiha, that could only mean that getting rid of them was part of the plan, and that by being forced to kill the clan they had unintentional helped what could be the greatest enemy the village has ever known. If this sixth person could control the Kyuubi, that could only mean that they have visual power matching Madara himself. Hiruzen gulped at the thought of someone at Madara's level, having been hidden for so long. Being able to hide in the shinobi world was even more frightening than having your name spread far and wide. An unknown variable that would shatter the peace between nations and tip the balance of power. What do we need to do? The Hiruzen asked, his eyes hard, knowing that if such a person really existed, chaos was sure to follow not only for Konoha, but the other villagers as well. For now, nothing. The Sandaime wanted to complain, but was stopped by Naruto. The simple reason he is keeping Itachi's secret is two things: one, Itachi is a great asset to his plans even if he is only a temporary ally, and two, he's not ready to show himself yet, and has been working in the shadows for decades. The most effective strategy we have is leaving him alone for now and not tipping him off. I can guarantee that if we make a move and fail to get him, things will only get 1,000 times worse. Itachi isn't able to reveal the truth. But with me here, Naruto points to himself with a smile. We have all the information we need to end his plan before it even starts, with zero risk of revealing our counterattack. The more he listened, the less he liked it. While Naruto's plan made sense and was effective, Sandaime didn't have the necessary information needed to determine if it was the right course of action. This person just sounded more and more troublesome. It wasn't just the Kyuubi attack, but according to what Naruto said, this person has been hidden far longer than he could even think of, and that only proved how formidable he was. But the third himself knew he couldn't make any moves lest they prove fatal. Itachi's secret was enough to turn the tide in the unknown's favor. Regardless, he was losing and had no moves to make that could turn it around, meaning that he had no choice but to trust Naruto on the matter. Seeing the frown on his face, Naruto reassured the third. I know the thought of doing nothing doesn't appeal to you. This guy isn't someone we can deal without. Be cautious. The time traveler said, and the third Hokage was forced to nod. The Sandaime was starting to leave. While he couldn't do much, he could at least ask Jiraiya about any news and information he's found out. While he couldn't look for the person directly without risking getting caught, he could at least look for him indirectly by identifying any organizations or events that he may be involved in. This will let the Sandaime get his own information while not tipping off the elusive person that he knew of his existence. As Naruto watched the Sandaime leave, he could practically see the aura of unhappiness. No surprise there. He literally just told him that he couldn't go after the person who not only murdered his wife, but thousands of villagers as well. Even for a Hokage, letting your personal feelings go for the greater good wasn't easy, especially when you were filled with the terror of the unknown. Turning to get a look at his new house, walking up, Naruto opened the front door, taking his shoes off at the entranceway before entering inside. Just like the outside, the house was spotless even though it had been abandoned for over a decade. Leaning down, Naruto puts his hand on the floor, channeling chakra as he did. Naruto watched as the chakra spread from his hand over the floor, revealing a complex matrix of seals. Damn, there are seals that can keep the house clean. I need to learn this, it will make Hinaheim's life so much easier. The minute he said this, he saw an image of his future wife cleaning the house with an apron on, and a bright smile that warms his heart. On second thought, Hinataheim's really sexy when she cleans. Though it wasn't just that. After being alone for years on end, just seeing his wife cleaning gave him that warm and fuzzy feeling. Naruto had a dazed look on his face, remembering the times where they would clean the house together only for him to start playing with his Haim, resulting in her joining in, and the two making an even bigger mess together. Once more back to reality, Naruto started looking around the house. There were paintings hung up down the hall, and at further inspection Naruto realized they were most likely of Uzumaki. The streets had a sheen of yellow as the sun hit them. People wore colorful clothes as they walked and traded in the streets. The buildings were different from what he saw in Konoha, but together they were a sight to behold. Each one had spirals carved into them. There was a port filled with ships as fishermen unloaded their goods. At the very back in the painting, Naruto saw a large building made of blue stone, and by the big red spiral of his clan, most likely the villagers' version of the Hokage Tower. Further back, Naruto could make out some mountains. This was his homeland. Even though he spent his life in Konoha, he couldn't help the feelings that welled up from seeing it. He wished he could see the real thing in its prime, but sadly all that remained were ruins and the dead. The once proud buildings toppled, the ships sunk, and streets devoid of life. If it wasn't the fact he had a life and family in Konohagakure, he would have liked to see it restored himself. Further exploring the house, he found a kitchen, living room, storage room, and finally, wow, I was expecting to find some books, but not this. The last room was one of the buildings connected to the main building, and inside the building itself was a library that could give the villagers a run for their money. With smile, Naruto did something he has never done before, diving right into reading books. Looks like he was going to get a lot more out of moving here than he first thought.